In a galaxy far, far away, there exists a group of fierce and fabulous women who are on a mission to explore the depths of pop culture. They are the Galactic Gals, and they are here to take you on a journey through the cosmos of entertainment. From the latest TV shows and movies to a trip down the Milky Way of nostalgia, they will delve into the worlds of fantasy and imagination, bringing you insights and analysis that are out of this world. So buckle up, cosmonauts, and get ready to blast off with the Galactic Gals Pop Culture Podcast.
Hello, and welcome back. We're back. It's been a while. Sorry about that, but things we couldn't control, things like that. Welcome to season 2 of Galactic Gals, episode 1, because I can't remember where we were. So
2024 can officially begin now.
Yes,
there you go.
It can begin, and we're coming back with a bang. We're going to talk about the 90s sci-fi, horror, and fantasy picks. Our picks, not this Entertainment Weekly, Collider, Den of Geek, any of that. That's all crap. This is real deal. This is from real people, not liberal writers that like woke shit. So here we go. So I've got a full house today. Retro Doc is back with us. And of course, always the incomparable Night Owl, my co-host. She's back. And then last but not least, the mega geek Ian.
Hello.
From Type 40.
Hello.
His favorite 90s picks. So
I'm
excited.
We need the international element. So Ian.
That's true. And Starry was supposed to be here today, but she got sick. And so bless her. I hate that, you know. I hate when I get sick, and so she'll be back when we do part 2 in May sometime. So cool. Just gonna send out like thoughts and prayers to Starry. Hope you get better. Hope you at least could maybe like tune in later and watch what our picks were. So
positive vibes we send out to Starry.
Yeah, very positive vibes. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Can't believe we're all the way up to the 90s. We started in the 60s and we're already all the way up to the 90s.
And believe it or not, this was my favorite one. like to actually watch this week. Yeah, rewatch the thing, my picks. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you guys rewatch your picks, but I do. And sometimes if I have time, I rewatch other picks because I have the inside knowledge of what you guys picked, but I didn't get a chance to do that, and I was a little disappointed. There was a couple on your list, Ian, that I really want to rewatch. So,
Okay.
so
If I can remember the list that I gave you, then
you too. I do remember mine. I remember all of yours actually because I had to do the PowerPoint from hell this week. So, but it's done, and so we can get on with it. But hope you guys everybody out there in YouTube had a nice Christmas and Happy New Year. But we're back.
All right to say Happy New Year around about this time, June the year.
Yeah.
End of February.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Some people still have their Christmas trees up. So
what? Really?
Some do, believe it or not. There's still
not
lights
me.
and decorations up. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I've seen that.
I drove by a house that wasn't a bar, and has Christmas lights. Because here and I don't know if you guys do this in the UK, but here in America and Texas especially, it's either a Mexican restaurant or a bar, and they leave Christmas lights. They put Christmas lights on the outside of it.
Yeah, we do have. We do have a lot of pubs and stuff that have Christmas lights outside of it. Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was just maybe an American thing.
It's a pub thing.
International.
Maybe it's international. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Maybe not.
Okay. All right, so shall we get started?
Yep.
And this is not any particular order, or I just put whoever like first, and so Michelle's going to go first this time.
Okay.
No pressure, Michelle. Do you remember what you picked?
I think I do. Yeah. I remember I'd asked you about one of them because I'm like, well, gosh, we could do a whole stream on that. But you said, got to wait a while,
Yeah, I'm only on season 1. So, and I'm almost done with season 1, but I'm taking my time with it. I have plenty of time.
That's okay.
All right. So, now I just did this in the order that you put them in. So I'm not sure if this is your actual like number 1, or this is the 5th pick you had. I think it's
just the 5th pick.
Okay.
I mean, I love Bruce Willis, and I love definitely the sci-fi element, and Mila, I think Jovovich, or however you say her last name.
Yeah, it's Mila Jovovich.
Love her. I mean, she was just a total, badass in that film. And he plays Cabby Corbin Dallas. And just the other day, I was in a parking spot, and I was telling Tracy, I'm like, damn, I feel like Bruce Willis trying to get out of a parking spot. I don't know if somebody's going to come by and take my front end of my car off because I couldn't see around 2 big SUVs, that were blocked.
Yeah.
Like, you have 5 points left on your license, Yeah. Okay. But great. And Gary Oldman in it, and the diva, the singing diva. I would just play that soundtrack over and over, especially to listen to the sing.
Now I'm gonna say something here so that you don't blame me for this, just in case. Like, I didn't pick these pictures out, and the reason why I'm saying this was one of someone else's choice.
Okay.
And Gary put the pictures out, so don't yell at me.
Oh,
yell at Gary.
No, this wasn't one of my choices.
Oh.
Right. No, this wasn't one of Gary's choices. But
okay. No.
So
Ruby Rod. Yeah.
Is this the first time Chris Tucker got introduced to the film world, or has he been in film? I think he was in the Barber films. He was in. You talking about Barbershop or no? He was in Friday. Yeah. He was in Friday. In Friday. Oh, okay.
I think that was that before this? I think it was around the same time.
Yeah. Oh, right.
I will admit I've never seen this film.
Have you not? Have you not?
I have never watched Fifth Element.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's probably because of this character right here.
You have to watch it because he's the comic relief. There's a scene in there. I laugh every damn time because he screams like a girl in this one scene, and it fits the scene, and it's just so damn funny. I mean, I'm usually laughing hard, so hard I got tears rolling out of my eyes because of that whole scene. Because it involves him and a bomb, and Bruce Willis is trying to get him down from the second level to the first, and he screams like this little girl with pigtails, and
but what's interesting about this film, sorry, I don't know the rules of this. Am I allowed to?
No, yeah.
What's interesting about this film, because it was made by Luc Besson, when people in Europe make movies, you can always see and feel the touch of a European film. Like, take for instance Flash Gordon. There's no way that film's American. Absolutely no way. Do you know what I mean? From the designs, the Italian design, straight the colors and stuff. It's the same thing with this film as well. It's a very European feel to this whole movie. I don't know if you sensed that, Night Owl. I don't know if you sensed it when you were watching it.
No, that actually makes sense. There. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of
it seems more colorful.
Yeah.
Than what Americans would do. I haven't seen it. I've just seen like pictures and clips, and it just seems like something like Americans, like, well, especially now, they want to put everything, like, they want to tone the color down like in a sepia, which I do have a problem with. They did that with Wonder Woman and some of the DC films, and it's like, turn the color up a little bit, So I can kind of see how, like Ian would say, this is much more European, because just seeing some European films, I think they're more colorful, more vibrant, and just more. I don't know if that's what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, even the design of the clothing and stuff like that, you can tell there's a very European feel to clothes design, buildings design, color design. That goes through all their culture and stuff, and when you go to visit as well. And for this film, it feels very European to me, from the ship design to the costumes to the color and everything. But I don't know, because we get bombarded by American movies. We know the feel of that. So when something comes along and it doesn't have the feel of the American thing, you as a European, you can see it. So I don't know if you guys could see it with this film, that how very different the design was. I don't know. You're probably not.
Was this supposed to be? There are supposed to be more of these. Was this intended to be like the first of other stories? If it had been a hit, I don't know. Was it a hit?
It was. It didn't. It wasn't a big hit, but because everybody's. Look, I mean, stop me if I'm talking too much, but everyone judges films by being a hit if it's a hit in America. But I think it didn't quite reach the point to be a hit in America, but all around the world it was. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it was. I think it became a hit later. Like, and a lot of these picks on this list, a lot of them became cult classics later.
Yeah.
And so I think America's, we're kind of a hard sell on things, and like I said, I haven't seen it. I really don't know. But yeah, it probably had a slow burn here, but I think it's a very popular movie here now. There's a lot of fans. So Michelle,
Andy, how can you see that picture of Chris Tucker and not want to see this movie?
That's the reason why I didn't want to see the movie. I honestly, Chris Tucker is a hard sell for me. He gets on my nerves. I don't know. Like, that kind of just gets on my nerves. So that's why one of the reasons why I never watched it. I know that's terrible, but
sorry, Night Owl, did you think that this movie was it took from so many other movies, didn't it? Even the point of taking from Die Hard, where he was wearing an orange vest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know what you thought about that when you were watching it.
It's been a while since I've seen it. I guess I was kind of expecting somewhere in the film to hear Yippee-ki-yay, but that he didn't do that, But yeah, I guess there would be some elements of Die Hard in there. You got dire situation, and he's the one to go in and solve the problems. I mean, he was the negotiator. I don't know how to negotiate, and he goes in and kills whoever. So yeah. but so very, very Die Hard-esque for sure. And Chris Tucker, yeah, he's the character he plays is annoying, but like I said, he's really funny in places. And the storyline is pretty good too. He's a military man, and he's just trying to live a life being a cabbie in, I'm guessing, New York or Tokyo or wherever that city is.
I think it's New York. I think
New York.
Not sure.
And I mean the fantasy element of that, with all the people who live in New York. I mean, I like the idea of floating restaurants that just come up to your window. I mean, I think that would be pretty cool. So, but yeah, I enjoy that film. I haven't watched it in a while.
So what would you give this out of 10 stars?
About an 8 for me.
Okay, that's pretty good.
10. What would you give Chris Tucker?
Just for the funny factor, he gets about a 10 in that. But
wow.
Okay. Well,
I don't know how any man can wear that. And I mean, it looks like he's wearing a giant penis on his head, but I mean, that's what it looks like.
I got to admit that I found him irritating the first time I saw this film, and I didn't really get the humor. But after watching Rush Hour, when I went back and looked at this film, I got it. Because I think he solidified himself in the Rush Hour movies, didn't he? With household names and stuff. Everybody knows who Chris Tucker is now. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Before we move on, here's a few facts here. Luc Besson, while still in high school, created the original screenplay for The Fifth Element. He imagined the story and created the movie's universe as a way to escape his lonely childhood. Mila Jovovich, known primarily for her modeling work, secured the iconic role of Lulu in The Fifth Element through an unconventional audition. I think she danced around and made weird gibberish noises, and that impressed Luc Besson. And then the third one, I have no idea because I've seen the movie, but if you listen closely during certain moments, you'll notice differences in the vocal tones of the diva's voice in the film.
Yeah.
So yeah. And you probably know. And so, Gary, am I the only one that hasn't seen this film?
I saw this once when it came out.
Okay.
But I haven't.
Okay. Well, so then I'm the only person on the stream that hasn't seen it.
I mean, for set design and production design, I mean, it's worth seeing it for that alone.
It is.
Okay.
I would say it's a very European design. You can tell when you look at the design of the spaceships and the costumes. The costume's very European. There's no way American would design what Chris Tucker is wearing there at all. No way.
No. Maybe now they would.
I was going to say, at least not American in 1997. Now it's like
RTD would.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would. All right. So moving on. Let's see what your next pick is. Oh, I never saw this coming at all.
No, I mean, that's the Stargate movie, but it's the whole series of Stargate, really. I've always been fascinated by Egypt, and so my husband is too. But that's starting from the movie here with James Spader and Kurt Russell.
So yeah,
he made a great Jack O'Neill. You got this soldier, his kid found his gun and ended up killing himself, and it really messed him up. And, they sent him basically on this suicide mission to, go see where these aliens came from and everything. And he dealing with Ra, and you got his Ra's serpent guards and Horus guards, and they're this ancient race of aliens who came to Earth, and they have the symbiote, and they find these young tribal people, and they eventually, planted seeds all over the galaxy, and which birthed, Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis and Universe and all that. But the Stargate movie definitely paved the way for it all.
It's a bit difficult seeing James Spader as a geeky scientist, especially when you know him today.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and it was hard. It was hard for me watching this movie because James Spader, Pretty in Pink,
That's right.
Less Than Zero, he played a real good jerk. So it was very weird to see him where he was just kind of passive, and when as Daniel Jackson, he was just very and so that I think that was kind of hard for me. And I love James Spader. Of course, I love Kurt Russell. I mean, Kurt Russell is just great in anything, just about.
He is.
And I didn't have a problem with that necessarily, but I think the casting of James Spader just threw me. I mean, I'm kind of with Ian. It was just odd seeing him in that.
It was hard going from him to Michael Shanks, who plays Daniel Jackson in the TV series, because when we watch the movie, we'll want to. It's like you want those characters to continue on. But by the time you get to the series itself, they picked perfect actors to play those roles too.
You think so?
I think so.
I actually preferred the Daniel Jackson in the series over this Daniel Jackson, to be honest. And I love James Spader. I think that was a better casting choice because it just went with his look and his, I mean, we didn't have anything. You don't have anything to go. I don't have anything to go off of his previous work to say, wow, that's just seems weird seeing this person act this certain way when here they were this, and I know it's acting, right? But it's just when you played a certain archetype for so long, that's why typecasting is just, bad.
Yeah.
And they intended to do 2 more movies and make it a trilogy, but then they kind of rejigged it and just
well, that's the thing, Gary. When you got a good idea like Stargate or any good idea, the mistake they keep making is they keep casting people that's sellable. And if you cast someone that's sellable, it's really hard to hold on to them for 3 movies because they're obviously sellable and they're doing other movies. So someone like Kurt Russell, who's always working, let's face it,
absolutely.
You're not going to hold on to him for very long, are you? So, and that's the mistake they keep making. Thank God they cast Chris Reeves as Superman and they didn't cast Robert Redford. Do you know what I mean? As Superman.
That's right.
Otherwise, we'd never had. Well, we had Superman 2. The rest were rubbish, but we would never had Chris Reeves as Superman. He's known as Superman. You know what I mean? It's
And this had a great score, obviously, that they carried on to the TV version.
Oh, David Arnold is amazing. He's an amazing composer, as far as I'm concerned. He brought the James Bond series back to life because he obviously was a huge fan of John Barry, and he's a fantastic. And the music in this film is absolutely brilliant, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what you guys think. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I actually rewatched this about a month ago because I'm actually going to get started on watching the series. I got a little ways into SG1 and then stopped, but I want to kind of do it again. So I watched this movie to start, and I watched the director's cut, and I don't know why they didn't include at the beginning of the director's cut, there's a whole 5 or 6 minute sequence of the aliens first coming down and kidnapping the young kid who becomes Ra. And I could never figure out why they cut out stuff they cut out. I mean, it would have helped it. So if you get a chance to see it, watch the director's cut.
Might be because of time.
Yeah.
There's 9 times out of 10, it's always because of time, isn't it? Their cuts. Anyway, I get confused. Is this an actress or is this a guy?
That's a guy.
All right, okay. I get confused.
I thought that too the first time I watched it years ago.
Yeah,
I thought how he looked very feminine. I don't know what
Well,
Michelle
what was that
thought.
movie that he was in that got into notoriety?
The
you
Crying
saying
Game.
The Crying Game. And I think that confused everybody.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, he does look very feminine.
He does.
I mean,
He
let's
does.
be honest.
Yeah.
But it kind of works
point.
with Raw, though.
Yeah,
it kind of worked in that sense. It's got a kind of a
did.
creepy feeling to it.
It did, because even in there when his attendants are putting his rings on, the way he holds his hands and everything, it's like it was very feminine.
Yeah.
But it's okay, whatever. You're Raw,
And
you're a god.
they did
you
that
can
with
do
the
whatever.
series. Was it what character is it's a different villain in the series. Is it Horus?
Apophis.
Apophis. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. I couldn't remember. Okay, yeah. And Apophis seems very kind of less feminine, but
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I think Ra's the sun god to rule the day, and Apophis is the god to rule the night. So I guess the moon god, maybe. That's how I learned all my Egyptology, was Stargate SG-1. So, I mean, because they talk about all the gods, and they're right on with everything. So,
well, you know, it's like that's how people like how shows influence people and what they're interested in, and then it causes the person to go start doing research on their own about something that they may not have even been into. And that's the powerful things of movies and TV shows, is it causes you to go out and maybe research on your own the truth of it. You
That's
know,
why they're using it as a weapon today.
Yeah, it could be good and bad. In this case, it's good because it caused Michelle to go out and want to learn history, and that's a real history, you know, the real stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and the effect of the Stargate itself, the effect of the Stargate itself is very clever. It's realized visually, very well done, with that almost that kind of like water plume coming out and then settling down into the kind of little wavy, liquidy thing in the Stargate. That was very well done.
Yeah.
Actually, really, I do like that. I think that's still very effective today, even in the series, and even back in 1997 when the series came out, it was a very effective effect.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, definitely.
I got to admit, I like the film more than the series.
It's the opposite for me. So far, it's the opposite. I finished Stargate Atlantis. I actually watched that first, and then now I'm starting to SG-1, and I actually like the series better.
Right.
It's really bizarre, but
you like MacGyver better than
No, I love Kurt Russell. You know, but I do love Richard Dean Anderson too.
Right.
I actually, I did watch MacGyver back in the day.
She likes MacGyver more than Snake Plissken, obviously.
No, don't go that far now. Let's talk about Kurt Russell here. I love Kurt Russell. So
you know, it's hard to watch.
Selling point. That was the selling point why I wanted to watch the film originally. Is Kurt Russell.
You know, it's hard to watch James Spader in The Blacklist and then turn around and go see him in this, because in The Blacklist.
Well, actually, Secretary is actually more
Secretary.
Close.
Yeah, that movie.
That movie's crazy, right?
I love that movie though.
Yeah.
It's bizarre,
good,
but it's a good movie.
But the thing is,
it's weird.
It won't be allowed today.
It's weird to go back and watch actors you like now when they were younger. I mean, go watch Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man, and then go watch Weird Science, where he's one of the little dweeby villain kids.
Or the other movie I mentioned, Less Than Zero. It's like a totally different person.
The thing is, when you look at this film and you see that guy who's very feminine, you notice it, but it's not a big deal. Again, you know, you guys mentioned, you know, pop culture is very important. You know, you went out and learned about Egypt and all that stuff because of this movie. They've literally turned everything into a weapon. So if this film came out and you had that girl in there, they'll be the guy, sorry. They'll be talking about that be the main focus of the film now. Luc Besson's movie would be about, they'll be saying, Milla Jovovich, why is she hardly wearing anything? Do you know what I mean? And you know, everything would be attacked, won't they? 90s and the 80s was the for me the time to celebrate movies, because they had things in it that you questioned, but you didn't take it too seriously. Do you know what I mean? But today it's a very different playing field now, isn't it? Which is sad when you think about it, right?
It is
very sad.
It is, but I mean, with Joy all last week, I was the happiest person because all I was watching was 90s movies, and even the ones that were just okay compared to, I mean, I even went in and watched some that I'd never watched, like Army of Darkness with Bruce Campbell. First of all, you can't take life seriously if you watch a Bruce Campbell movie. You just can't. So, you know, the 90s was its own thing, and it was just, I don't know. I was like, man, if they could just make movies even to the caliber of Army of Darkness. I'm not saying it's the best movie I've ever seen, but I'm saying that it was fun. It was, you know, Bruce Campbell saying Bruce Campbell things, and it was just, nothing was taken seriously, and it was just fun. And they did seem to do that more in the 80s and 90s, and now it's all about politics. And boy, I miss the 90s.
Yeah, I was going to say that it seemed to me, and I don't want to generalize too much, but the 90s, it seemed is when you started to kind of move, things became a little bit, you had more like the kind of darker themed, you had more of the dystopian a little bit creeping in, as opposed to the kind of, popcorn, cheesy, light, fun.
But you did have a mixture.
You did have a mixture, but it really started to creep in.
Well, I think it also depends on what you focused on. Yes, and there's some of that on my list. But even the dark dystopian was entertaining. It was well written. It was not political. But I think it was actually more like a pretty big mixture, because like you said, you had Army of Darkness with Bruce Campbell, and first of all, Bruce Campbell right there, you already know it's not going to be totally serious. And then you had, you had Jurassic Park, you had other movies. And so it was just a mixture of things. It wasn't, I think that's what made the 90s unique, because it wasn't, the 80s was much more fun, I think. And you had dystopian in that too, but yes, more in the 90s. What you're saying is true, but I think it was just, now it's just completely dire. Yeah. Now it's like, you want dystopian? Yeah, we'll give you dystopian, but we'll give you dystopian with politics and wokeness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Yeah. So before we move on to West, we kind of discussed, we'll talk about the facts of the movies. The Stargate address for Earth is Chevron 7 locked. And I figured that out last night. I didn't, in an episode I watched last night, they actually said that. And I was like, oh, that was the first time they said that in a series. Fans of the film and the associated TV series often quoted this iconic phrase. The film was made on a moderate budget of $55 million, yet it delivered impressive visual effects and set designs. The film's popularity led to the creation of several successful television series, including Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, and Stargate Universe. So I don't know how why it's doing that. Hold on, I'm going back. Okay, so she put this together, and I know we kind of discussed this a little bit, but I let her do that. Because I didn't notice, and then number two, I'm like, well, I do want to talk about Stargate SG-1 a little bit, because Richard Dean Anderson. So,
yeah, I like the fact with this that they had Amanda Tapping playing, Sam Carter, Samantha Carter, and she was a flipping genius, so a scientist who loved physics and. It's like that in itself right there, I know, paved the way for a lot of women going into the science, just like when they had Nichelle Nichols, being in Star Trek. She paved the way for a lot of women going in fields of science too. And I just thought that was great for women in general, that, hey, you can be pretty, beautiful, whatever you want to call it, and smart, and there's, nothing wrong with it.
Well, and what I like about her character is, she doesn't insult. She's not insulting when she brings someone to task, but she's also open to being wrong. And one of my favorite scenes, and I think it might have been in the first episode or the second episode, where she meets Jack O'Neill, and he seems kind of standoffish. And she takes it as like, look, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I can't handle this job. And he says, do you think I don't like you because you're a woman? And she was like, kind of looked like, okay, that's the reason. And so I just, no, I don't like scientists. And it made me laugh, because like she had it all wrong and nothing to do with her gender. But I like the way they handled it. And she looked like, oh, okay. Like, I was wrong. Like, it's nothing to do with my gender. It's because you just don't care for science.
Yeah.
Which obviously he over time grows to, they have some sort of like, I already can tell, like it's a will they or won't they kind of relationship, which I hope they
can't
don't go
say
there,
anything.
Well, it's TV. They have to have that.
Yeah. But again, I like the way things are handled. That's like, she's a woman, but like, when she's wrong, she admits she's wrong. And, she doesn't like these days. I mean, that would have been just an off the cuff comment. He would have just stood there and took it and not said anything sarcastic back.
Yeah. I like in one of the episodes, I think it was the second episode, where they went to that that world, and it was run mostly by men, and the chieftain's daughter she wanted to marry for love, you know.
Oh yeah,
and and you know, she didn't, or she wanted to run away and everything, and Sam, you know, Jack made Sam, you know, here, let's show them what these can do. And here she is, this badass woman, you know, smart, who didn't like being oppressed by men, which, I mean, I get it and I agree. And she stood her ground, you know?
Yeah.
And she proved that she could handle anything thrown at her.
But they also got her in that ultra sexy outfit, which they would have never done today.
Oh, which episode was this?
That's the thing, you see. What is it? You say you liked Amanda Tapping. I say I liked Amanda Tapping because she's gorgeous. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, today, do you see who they cast for Lieutenant Uhura in Star Trek? I mean, I'm sorry, right? But no disrespect to that young actress. She's not even, looks-wise, she's not even a shade on the original, or even the one in the 2009 movie. What is wrong with women being good looking in Hollywood these days? I just don't understand what's going on there.
Honestly, I don't have a problem with that. I never have, you know, because this is supposed to be like, this is not reality. This is escapism. This is not everyday life, you know. But Michelle's right. You know, she's beautiful and she holds her own, but she also admits when she's wrong. And that's what the kind of women you need in TV shows. And this is why it works. And this is why I enjoy it. I do not like watching a show where the woman just insults the man and he just takes it. I mean, if you're going to like make a statement, have the man say something back, have it equal. And in this show, so far that I've seen, Richard Dean Anderson does not let her get away with anything.
And he hasn't got
you haven't.
So go ahead.
Andy.
No. Just go ahead. Go.
Yeah, Andy, you haven't made it to where you get to see McKay in SG-1 in parts yet. I don't think you get to see him and her have words and stuff. I mean, and she stands her ground against him too.
And I'm sure McKay said some real misogynistic shit.
Oh, of course
he does, because I know, but I like McKay. But McKay sometimes needs to be held accountable for the things he says.
He does.
It is just, but I love him.
Oh yeah. You know? I mean, anyway. you saw that in Atlantis when he conjured her up because he knew he was in trouble.
He's literally like my favorite character because he's smart. He has flaws though. And but everybody on Atlantis, sorry, this is not a Stargate Atlantis stream, I promise. But everybody on that show, what I liked about it, they had flaws. The women too. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just so wonderful and I can do no wrong. That's what I like about the Stargate that I've seen so far. It's like, it's a breath of fresh air. It's like, I don't know. It's getting out of prison for me, going back and watching a show I've never seen before, and it's not woke because it's like we're so used to seeing it now, and it's tiring.
How long did it run for?
10 seasons.
10 seasons. And
10 seasons.
From what year to what year? Did it start in the 90s? It's obviously started in the 90s, right?
I think it said
it's 1997 to 2007.
Oh, right. Because Richard Dean Anderson started with his hair wasn't grey, was it, when he first started?
No, and it's odd because I remember, because I watched MacGyver pretty religiously back in the day, and I remember seeing the promos for the show and going, and I was in my 20s at the time, right? And I was like, my God, he's so old. And it was like, now I look back, I'm like, he's not old at all.
No, yeah. But do you know how he got that gig on MacGyver? You know, Henry Winkler produced MacGyver, right?
Oh, yeah, he did.
So he was watching The Love Boat one day and he saw him on The Love Boat and he said, that's him, that's MacGyver. And that's how he got the part. I'm serious. Really that's how he got the part. He was in Love Boat. Just goes to show, don't it? But yeah,
that's
I mean,
wild.
He had like a, what do you call that hairstyle he had in MacGyver where the hair came?
It was a mullet.
A mullet. Did he start off with a mullet in this one? I can't remember.
No. And I think that's what threw me too, because he didn't have the mullet. It's weird how people, and not to get off on this, but people get off on type. I mean, we get sucked into that because he made that character so iconic. It's like Tom Baker, making the Doctor so iconic. Richard Dean Anderson made because he had a certain look. He made that character iconic, and he became that character. And so when they leave that role, it's hard for people. It was hard for me because I was like, wait, I don't want to watch that because that's not MacGyver. But I think
really.
Yeah, I was like that. Yeah, because I loved that show so much that it was hard for me to see him in some other role. Isn't that weird? I'm not like that now as much, but when I was younger, I was much more staunch about that stuff.
I don't know. I thought watching $6 Million Man and then watching Lee Majors in The Fall Guy.
It's weird. I did that.
Yeah, it was a bit weird, but I got used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. I think it was because I just, at this point in my life, I was in my 20s. I wasn't interested in sitting home and watching a TV show. I was out and about, right? Because I'm in my 20s. I didn't start watching TV shows again until my son was like 5 or 6. So
really,
yeah.
Even when I was in my 20s, I was still watching rubbish.
No, well, I was out going. It was either bars, movies, or going out to eat in my 20s.
Oh wow!
And so I went to the movies a lot, but I didn't sit home and watch TV.
I did both. I hated. All my friends were going to clubs in the 80s, and I hated going to clubs. You know why? One is because you feel the need that you have to chat up someone. 2 is you can't hear anything, and 3 is the beer is all watered down when you go to a club.
I didn't like clubs. Clubs are like dance clubs. I liked dives, which was like just a biker bar. Or like a blues bar.
You have biker bars in London.
And then I liked pubs, but I didn't. I wasn't into the whole dance club. I mean, I went, but I didn't like it. So I was more like, give me a good dive any day, and I'm there. Pub.
The thing over here is that if you're not into clubs, you're not into clothes, you're not into cars. Because when I was growing up, that's what the teens were into. You were a geek, and the word geek exist in those days. So I'd be watching Star Trek, Stargate, lots of TV shows, going to the cinema, buying Starburst, buying Starlog. That was my life for a very
this was me when I was a kid. I was all into science fiction, Star Trek, Buck Rogers, and those kind of shows, Knight Rider. I was really into those shows when I was a kid, but when I became a teenage girl, I decided to do the Peter Capaldi thing and go, I'm not a geek anymore, which was a lie. But because of boys and and so I had a resurgence of that as I got older because I realized I didn't know why I let that go. So here we are. Here we are doing streams now. So
no,
anyway,
I totally agree with you. As I said, I don't know about Gary. For me, it was all about the pop culture stuff. I said didn't call it pop culture at the time, but it was all about TV shows, movies, reading novels, science fiction, stuff like that. It was all that was my life for a very long time.
Yeah.
In fact, till the late 20s, that was my life. Actually, it's never stopped.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I used to read Starlog all the time. I used to read Starburst when we got it over here.
Yeah.
On this side.
But as a teenage girl, I secretly read Dragonlance novels and didn't tell anybody.
Oh, did you?
See, and as a teenager in high school, I used to read Star Trek novels in class and would never pay any attention. How I made it through high school is beyond me. So
yeah.
So
all right. So here's some facts. Stargate SG-1 holds the honor of being the longest running North American science fiction spinoff series with 214 episodes spanning over 10 seasons. Stargate SG-1 draws upon Egyptian, Greek, Norse, and even King Arthur legends, weaving them into its rich lore. The series follows SG-1, an elite United States Air Force Special Operations team. They explore the galaxy, defending against alien threats like the Goa'uld, the Replicators, and the Ori, which I don't think I've seen the Ori yet, but I'm sure
that's later on. All hail the Ori.
And I'm saying I'm impressed. You actually found a show. I have no idea what it is.
No idea what this is. Is this Australian? Is this Australian?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think it is. Yeah. Australian or New Zealand. My boys and I, because Sydney was 2 then in 99. We found that one day just flipping through the channels, show about a bunch of kids and there's no adult on the planet or where they're at because they were killed by a virus. Go figure. I wonder where that idea came from. But, and these kids have, divided themselves into different factions, and they're each is a separate tribe. And that cat right there, the tall guy wearing, I guess, the black hat, that's Zoot. He's like the head bad guy. And he's going around trying to either incorporate people into his tribe or killing them or, whatever. I mean, it's like a modern day apocalypse just set in the 90s.
Like a Mad Max type of thing? Because I've never.
Well, sort of. I mean, they steal everything they get. He rides around in a cop car. Actually, he stands on top of it and they drive for him. And in that top left picture, that's like your mall rats. They're the ones that live in an abandoned mall. And they're just taking care of the younger kids and helping raise them.
Because I saw that first shot. I saw that first shot that Andy put up before, and I thought, at first, like that was a live shot from San Francisco.
But it does it has a very Australian vibe to it, doesn't it?
And
pictures,
it is. And there's, I think, I saw 8 seasons or something. I've not watched it all.
260 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they're like 30-minute episodes, but there's a lot of information that's going on in those episodes. One of the kids' dads, I think, had created the virus or let it loose, and it wiped out all the adults.
Has this been broadcast anywhere since it?
Since I saw it on TV?
I think you can find it on YouTube.
Oh.
It is on YouTube. Somebody has it on YouTube, and you can follow it in sequence. I've seen it posted there. I've only got.
Is this kind of like that show, The 100? Kind of. I don't know if you know about the show, The 100.
It could be The 100. That's a good series. We watched all of that. That's wow. That'll probably be on my list later on. But yeah. Well, except with The 100, you have adults, and this is nothing but kids.
Okay. See, I was confused. I thought The 100 was like there were younger people.
So, so what happens? So it's loads of kids. So what happens when the kids become adults? Do they die because of this virus? Is it a certain age that they reach when they become solely an adult?
That's where I'm not sure of because, like I said, I stopped watching it like season 4, season 5 because it was really involved with my kids then. So I have to go back and finish watching it. Okay. So I honestly couldn't tell you that.
Is this kind of accurate, Michelle? Somebody in the chat, Time Mechanic in the chat, says this looks like Mad Max meets the kids from Fame.
Yeah, it does look like that.
You could kind of be like that, yeah.
Okay.
But you got these, the kids that are taking on roles of adults, and now some of them do really good because you have some genius kids in there too. One of the kids is a scientist, or he's just that good, builds things out of scraps in the mall and builds a radio or whatever.
Like MacGyver.
Yeah, kind of like MacGyver, yeah.
Was Richard Dean Anderson ever on this show?
No.
I might watch. I don't know if he's on it.
It's interesting. It's
okay.
It looks interesting. The guy's wearing a newspaper.
That's definitely different. And if it's 30 minutes, that's not like, you can get through that in no time.
I've just never once heard of this.
I never heard of it either. I know Australians are very, they do things in their kids' shows that England and America would never do. I saw one show where these kids were having a contest about who can pee the highest on the wall. I can't remember what Australian show. I'm not kidding. They literally had a shot of 2 kids, right? And everybody cheering and stuff, and they were peeing on the wall and see how high they can get.
Oh Lord!
I can't remember what show that was. It was a really weird one, but that they showed that in England. It was a long time ago, but they never showed. Obviously, they'll never show it again because of getting their peas
Time
out,
Mechanic
you know
says this is made by the same folks that did Neighbors.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
No Charlene?
And then Wynn says, Lord of the Flies type movies freak me out. They seem frighteningly possible. I love those. I think they're fascinating. I think it's very fascinating when you get a group of kids in a tribe-like setting. Yellow Jackets is also a pretty good show.
Oh, yeah,
that
you
does
said.
that.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So, and it's girls, so you know it's going to be horrible. Teenage girls. If it, they're going to do some horrible crap.
I think I've heard of this though.
Yeah, me and my boys, I would take like eyeliner and we would draw symbols on our faces and everything. Me and Michael and Sydney, we'd go out like that, and people would be looking. We just go about our business.
Well, that makes you interesting, Michelle, because you're not like everybody else, and you like to just see what people's reactions are, which is interesting. You should do that and film it.
Well, nowadays it wouldn't faze anybody, though.
That's true. Actually, one time, Jason and my son, they went out, and my husband, they put these really long, mustaches on their face, and they had a cowboy hat on, and they literally went into Walmart, and people really did were looking around, and they actually filmed it. I wish they still had it on YouTube, but they didn't have it anymore. It was really fun.
Oh man,
I actually was so embarrassed. I'm like, I'm gonna go shop over here. I'm gonna go shop over here. Yeah, my son used to like doing stuff like that. He used to like getting people's reaction and just crazy stuff,
Yeah, I remember one time
fun.
Jacob was like 6 or 7, and he always had a mohawk come football season. And this time it was painted green and it was spiked up, and we went to Walmart, and some older lady just shook her head in disgust at him. And I'm like, hey, he ain't your kid, he's mine.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, that for Walmart, that shouldn't faze anybody, right?
Oh, I know, right?
Have you seen the people of Walmart? I mean,
yes.
Well, Walmart.
Anyway. Yeah, that's a horrible. So, yeah, when you see some weird stuff at Walmart in the middle of the night, just gonna say.
Oh man.
All right. So here's your is this the fourth? This is the fourth pick. Babylon 5.
Babylon 5, yes. My favorite series. I love it. My second son is named after 2 characters out of that show.
Did he get bullied?
No, you wouldn't want to bully Michael.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh no.
Okay. You know what? No. So just aside, I've noticed that because of Star Trek, if you look at Stargate, they included that alien in the main cast, and they have an alien in this cast too. Is that because of Spock in the 60s?
I believe
Big question.
So too.
Big question.
Yeah. That is interesting.
I think Teal'c's more angry than Spock, though.
But even Space 1999, they did that as well. Second season, didn't they? They included Maya.
Yeah, they brought.
Yeah, but Maya wasn't angry. She just had sideburns. She could change into like animals.
Yeah, just saying that they seem to be the trend, isn't it? Where you got the main cast and they're all humans, and then they have to include an alien that's connected to the main cast, which a lot of shows did that, didn't they? So, anyway,
and they have to be emotionless.
Yeah. There's actually 2 aliens on that picture right there. You got Jakar, the one with the spots, and the female Delenn. She's an alien. She's actually half human right there. But it's a space station, 5 miles long, orbiting a planet, and Earth has gone out and colonizing places, and just expanding. And of course, everybody goes to that station where they can meet other races, and they have discussions and things. Straczynski he saw the story. It has a definite beginning, a definite middle, and a definite end. And the ending, cry every time I see it.
I was going to say, was it the first series that had CGI ships?
Yes. And looking at it back then, it was difficult to tell. The suspension of disbelief is amazing.
Yeah.
Even watching it now, I can still go back and just ignore that and just get for the story that it has. Because what goes on in Babylon 5 and that whole series is pertinent to what's going on in the world today. You can see it plain as day. They had a conspiracy with their own government. We have conspiracy with our own government, and it's worldwide. It's everywhere. And even in Babylon 5, it's like that too.
Got the hot chick.
Claudia
the hot chick in Babylon 5.
She was great.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
That's important, though. I know
it
sounds like, because that's why Doctor Who, like, you had the sexy companion.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Because sci-fi, I mean, obviously, me and Michelle are into sci-fi, but sci-fi is mainly geared towards men, because men are generally the audience. Not saying that women don't like sci-fi, but generally speaking, you got to have some eye candy. And these there's some eye candy both here. There's Bruce Blaxleitner, okay?
That's right.
I mean, for the women, and then you have the female.
But that's what I'm saying. Because when they complain about that now, I always roll my eyes, because they always seem to forget that we had William Shatner, loads of women's to fancy William Shatner. This fella here, MacGyver in Stargate. It's not like it was just one way, that was just women that looked sexy. It was basically balanced.
Robert Conrad in Wild Wild West.
I knew you were going to mention Robert Conrad.
Preferably without a shirt. Right?
Then you had a bevy of beauties in the show that he would seduce, like James Bond.
Exactly.
So I love that. I love that it's equal. It's equal here. Bruce Blaxleitner, he's an attractive man. Something for the ladies, something for the men. Nothing wrong with that. They need to continue doing that. That's just tradition. Just come on.
But sometimes they do it badly. Like, for instance, Wilma in Buck Rogers. The first season, she was very much an equal to Buck Rogers. Second season, she was just put out to pasture and put in the background.
She was a stewardess in the second season.
She must have pissed some producer off.
No, it was
the
revamp of that show in the second season.
And the guy that took over, there was another guy that took over, didn't he? And he wanted it to be more like Star Trek and and stuff like that. So
that's what happened with Space 1999. They wanted it to be more like Star Trek, and I think that was a mistake.
And here's the thing:
the first season was
much
better.
Same guy, both shows. Fred Freiberger.
Yeah, he's a bit of an idiot.
I heard that guy in conventions got booed.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, there are a lot of shows that actually dissed women bad. They did really do it bad. Like, for instance, A-Team. The girl that played Amy
with Melinda Kulu. Her name.
And she was brilliant as far as I was concerned. But the rumors.
I loved her character as a young girl.
So did I, and I thought it balanced it really well.
But then didn't they replace her with like a much more modelish?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, they always do that. They did the same thing with Knight Rider. They replaced Bonnie Barstow with, I can't remember the actress's name. They replaced her, like, I think in the second or third season.
Yeah, I mean, there are shows that did it really, really badly. Like Fall Guy. I think it's Heather Thomas. She was just there to.
Who in the opening credits always had the bikini
yes, I'm saying,
on.
But she was her character wasn't very strong in that show at all. You know what I mean? So sometimes they do it really badly, but shows like this they do it very well.
I still liked it.
Yeah, I liked the Fall Guy. I thought it was fun.
And it's it's the same thing, Ian, like in T.J. Hooker. Heather Locklear, who was
Heather Locklear's character.
But the shot that they used in the opening credits was her dancing in a strip club.
Well, you gotta figure, like, this, that was kind of like Charlie's Angels, like that was like, that was kind of like bleeding into, that's the early 80s. They were still kind of in that whole, like, Jiggle TV, right? But look, Jiggle TV was good. Jiggle TV was good. We need to go back to Jiggle TV.
Amen. If anybody learns a lesson from today's stream, it's that. Right
Jiggle
there.
TV. We need to go back to that.
But the thing about Babylon 5, just really quickly.
Aaron Spelling. We need another Aaron Spelling right now.
I haven't watched Babylon 5 since it was first on. I do remember enjoying all of the ambassadors, but also the aides to the ambassadors had great characters too. I understand, like, in the fourth, it was supposed to be a 5-year story. He wasn't really sure if it was going to get renewed for season 5. So he basically ended the main story a little ways into season 4 and basically kind of truncated it. I remember season 5 being, again, I haven't watched it since the day, it was far inferior quality-wise to the other 4 seasons because they were just kind of, they had to make it up as they go along, just kind of extra stuff. And that's actually probably why I haven't rewatched it, because I just did not like the final season of this. But the first 4 were great.
Yeah, season 5's not my favorite either.
Who's the original guy? Who was the original?
Michael O'Hare,
commander.
Yeah, Michael O'Hare. He played Jeffrey Sinclair.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's the way, the thing about it is, Straczynski always said, and I thought this was great, because he wrote all but a dozen episodes of this entire series. And he had little escape hatches in where if something happened with a particular actor or character, that thread could then be shifted to somebody else so he could continue the story. And who was also great in the show was Walter Koenig, Chekhov, as
Bester. Alfred Bester.
He was great.
Yes. And I can tell you, having shaken that man's hands, his hands are ice cold.
Wow.
Gloves,
it makes me wonder.
Black gloves.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes me wonder.
Anything,
Right. Yeah. He was a psychop.
That's because he hasn't got any hair on his head. That's why his hands is cold.
So,
and then who was the guy who was like the knight that Ivanova was in love with?
Oh, Marcus Cole.
Yeah.
He was a ranger. He trained on Minbar to become a ranger.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I kind of agree with Lucy's comment here. It was great and then good. And then
I'm curious, what time did they show Babylon 5 in the States?
It was syndicated.
Yes, but in for instance, Michelle, what time or what channel did you watch Babylon 5 on?
Oh gosh.
I don't know. I haven't watched the show, but I seem to remember it was UPN, possibly.
And what time was it?
It wasn't on a network.
It was
on one like a UHF
TNT
channel.
Network or something for me here.
Oh, it
I remember
probably was
TNT.
Turner Network. Turner.
TNT.
The question I wanted to 9 o'clock in the evening. Right.
I think so.
Because in England, right, these shows were considered they didn't know what to do with these shows. So what they do is they put it on BBC Two and they put it when kids come from school, so maybe 4:30, 5:30. They put it on. I remember Quantum Leap. They put Quantum Leap on at until it got popular, 5:30. Because England's really weird when it comes to sci-fi. They don't know what to do with sci-fi, so they put it on at really odd times and stuff like that. So it's really hard for it to pick up a following over here.
Yeah.
In fact, all the American sci-fi shows that they got over here was really hard because they kept putting them on weird hours. So it's just weird. But anyway, I just was wondering what time they showed it.
I remember this being on channel 13 or something, which is a station that just ran syndicated stuff. And it was on Saturday afternoons.
Okay.
And like I said, I still remember it being there was a channel here called UPN, and it might have been in syndication here that I would see it advertised. But yes, you're correct. It was on TNT, Michelle.
Yeah.
Because sorry, go ahead, Michelle. Go
on. I remember I didn't watch it in syndication at the time. We got into it later, but I do remember flipping through the channels and seeing it at night. And I was like, who the hell's the dude with the funky hair standing up? And that's Londo.
Right. It looks like a weird rooster chicken.
I'm like, how the hell did they do that? But
TNT actually bought the show, and they were the ones that premiered season 5. And so then they ran all of season 1 to 4 before they premiered the 5th season on TV.
I think once Doctor Who established that Saturday 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock was the prime time for kids to watch things like that, that's when they decided. Because I remember Buck Rogers being shown at Saturday evenings 5 or 6, and that was pretty a big show in the day. So they England's kind of slowly got towards, the sci-fi stuff and the popular American shows that came on.
And I remember Buck Rogers. I don't know what day it was. I'm sure Gary may know. I could look it up on AI, I guess. But Buck Rogers was here during the week, because the reason why I know that, is because we'd go to school, and then everybody would be talking about the latest Buck Rogers episode at school. So I knew that it was during the week. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Friday.
We had to wait till Monday because usually shows like Planet of the Apes, the TV show, was Saturday mornings. Buck Rogers, as I said, that was a big one, 6 in the evening. Battlestar Galactica was Saturdays 6 o'clock as well, as I recall, or Thursdays. So those shows were really big, but obviously you guys got it before us, so
we got it. A lot of those shows. I think even Knight Rider was during the week.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to say Knight Riders was Mondays for whatever reason. I remember that way, but I don't know, probably wasn't.
Do you remember when they took Knight Rider off? I don't know about you guys. They took Knight Rider off because it came to its run, and we were all like, "Oh, we miss Knight Rider." Then they introduced Street Hawk. You're like, "What is this? A rip-off?"
Okay, I actually liked that show when I was really young.
With Rex Smith.
Street Hawk.
Yeah, I did watch that. I did watch it. I also watched The Powers of Matthew Starr too.
Didn't they have? Wasn't there a Knight Rider sequel show like Knight Rider?
Yeah, there was Knight Rider 2000.
There's a lot of them. There's a few of them.
Yeah.
The originals, the better.
I stopped after the first one. I wasn't by that time. I wasn't really into it, but
for the Knight Rider show, it was when Kit had to go against Goliath, the truck. And it's like, really? Car versus truck? We know how this is going to end.
So here's some trivia about Babylon 5. Tie-in novels, comic books, and short stories played a significant part in the overall story, making it a beloved part of sci-fi history. Unlike concurrent shows, Babylon 5 had a pre-planned 5-year story arc with storylines spanning multiple episodes and seasons.
Yeah.
Well, they knew where to end it, right? So that's a good thing. Usually they just keep going on and on and on with a show, even though nobody's watching it, even though it's just stories are getting worse and worse. So it's quite nice that the creator had a beginning, middle, and an end. That's a good thing, right?
But so even in there's different elements that could have branched off, and I think that's what some of the books do. You get to learn in the book series about the technomages, and they use magic and science together, and then you have the telepaths. Well, we always wanted a telepath war. We needed to know what happened with the telepaths.
Well, they had that spin-off series Crusade, but that got canceled after half a season.
Yeah, and I have that too. It's just not my favorite.
Yeah. So
I have deja vu. Did we talk about the X-Files before? But I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
It's driving me crazy because this is really hard to keep up with. We have done a lot of lists on this channel, and it's really hard to keep up with what we've talked about already. But it seems like I remember us talking about this, but that's okay. We're going to talk about the X-Files again.
Okay.
Is this your number one choice? I've lost count at this point.
Well, this is
that one for Babylon 5. This is my fifth pick.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to set my VCR to record that so I wouldn't miss any of it. VCR, yes, video cassette recorder, people. Back in the day. Man, that series.
What a great show!
Great show.
Yeah, terrific.
David Duchovny, this unknown guy. I'm like, who is this? Never heard of him before. Couldn't even pronounce his name until I'd heard somebody else talk about him. He plays this profiler, and I think his character is based on a real life profiler for the FBI. He wrote a book called Mind Hunter, and I cannot remember his name, but it'd be right up your alley, Andy, for your crime podcast.
Yeah, I've actually you're talking about Mindhunter as far as they made a series as well.
His John something, and I cannot.
I actually watched the Mindhunter series, and yes, I was hooked, and they canceled it, which is usually what they do. But anyway.
But yeah, Mulder's stuck in the basement doing these unsolved cases and it could be aliens, ghosts, just abductions in general, and he just finds them fascinating. Well, you come to find out, he had his sister was abducted, and so he was trying to find answers about that. And you get to see how, once again, our government, and I'm not going to say wonderful because they're not, they suck. They of course control everything, like they were controlling him, yanking his chain every step of the way. And Scully he's paired with, she's a forensic pathologist. I was almost going to go and do that until I learned how long the residency for that is. And I said, forget it. It's like 8 years of residency after medical school. And she, does all the autopsies and everything. And she's the skeptic to his being a believer. And there's constantly battling. And over the long haul of the series, eventually she does come to understand everything he says has an element of truth to it. Mm-hmm. It's a great series. I went to my first convention. It was an X-Files convention in St. Louis. Tracy got off work and we took my parents' truck and went, decapitated a coyote in the process because it was running towards
that was perfect.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like 2:00 in the morning and we're on this lonely back road and I'm going like 80 miles an hour to get there. And here's this dog running towards me and I had no choice but to just keep going. So I pull over and
like, I've got to make it to the X-Files convention.
Yeah, that's right. Tracy gets out and he said he had to scrape the head off with his foot because it was stuck on the bumper.
Do you know what? I'm constantly amazed of how people who are really into this stuff would go out of their way to actually, be part of what they love. I take my hat off to you because I never got the chance to do that because of money and because of where I lived and stuff like that. But it always fascinates me when you tell a story.
Have you never been to a convention for
No, I've been to convention. Yeah, when I got a lot older. But when X-Files was out, I was always working and stuff like that. So I never got the chance to be a real geek. Do you know what I mean? At that moment in time, it was dormant inside of me. I was still reading comics and stuff like that. But again, that's amazing that you'd be driving 80 miles per hour just to get to
an
X-Files thing. That's crazy, right? Yeah, that's crazy.
And Gillian Anderson, and an X-File convention. That is a story right there.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they weren't there. This was somebody, another fan actually put this on at a little college in St. Louis, and she brought in people from MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, to give talks and everything. And I think there was, I don't know if anybody was there from the FBI just talking about the FBI side of things and certain procedures or not. I can't remember.
Michelle,
but it was a blast. Yeah.
They were there. You just didn't see them. They were there.
Well,
just in case somebody spoke the truth.
I was.
No, I was just saying, I back in the day, of course, I thought the show was great. I mean, they had amazing chemistry. The guy who played Skinner was great. The standalone stories were definitely the better. Over time, I remember it getting increasingly annoying that when it became clear that Chris Carter, as far as the larger mythological thing about this coming alien invasion, and you had the oil, and you had the bees, and you had the guy with the super strength, and it's clear that he had absolutely no clue as to how all of this was going to fit together. And he admitted that as much in later years. I wish they had done. Going back now and watching it, the standalone episodes are clearly the strength of this show. I mean, they had great monsters like early on with Toombs, the guy that could squeeze through everything. He was in those 2 episodes. But I really wish, like maybe after 5 seasons before the movie came out, that maybe they had used the movie to totally wrap up and put a bow on that whole alien invasion and make it clear how it all fit together. But they just never did. They kept piling on and piling on and piling on clues, and it just, none of it fit. And I mean, in my opinion, the way they resolved the whole thing about Mulder's sister was absolute nonsense. She became Stardust or some.
But that's the thing
like that.
With a TV. So I always equate England with America. The clever British creators for TV shows, they know when to stop. Like, even an example, Ricky Gervais knew when to stop with The Office. He knew that you can't just keep turning out the same thing all the time. How many times can you do this joke? So he knew that he had to stop when he was at the top. I think some of the showrunners and the creators know when they have to stop, but I think it's different in America, because once you got a success, the studios and the heads, they keep wanting to keep it up there. Therefore, it gets watered down and you run out of ideas. And
example would be 15 seasons of Supernatural.
Yeah.
And not saying there wasn't some great gems that we got from 15 seasons, even after the 5th season. But come on, man, you had it perfect by the 5th season. You should have stopped.
And then again, but I mean, you have
they see money,
Yeah, it's
I mean, you have Duchovny leaving. It's like, Duchovny's leaving. Oh, who cares? We'll keep going. And I'll admit, Robert Patrick was about as good as a replacement as they could get. He was pretty good. But then it's like, Scully's leaving, no problem. But Annabeth Gish, who came in, her character was lame. But it's like, oh my gosh. Then it became, how long are they just going to keep this thing going?
But you know why he left, right? He basically, I was told that someone that worked on it, that basically he had believed he was going to be a big star, so that's why he left. Because his agent told him, look, you can't be a big star if you're in a TV show. You need to be in movies. So he did a couple of movies, and he got nowhere. Because let's face it, David Courtney is not a very. He can act, but he's not a very good. He has a one-tone way of acting. It's not like he's got a multiple way of performing. He just has that one tone. So it's really hard to cast him in anything, to tell you the truth. So
he was popular in that show Californication, though.
But he played
but
Mulder.
It was the same. But it was kind of the same character. It kind of played.
What was that movie that he was in with all the creatures and stuff? That was like a comedy movie.
That was terrible.
Evolution, I think. Yeah.
And then he starred in that romance with the thing with the heart.
Return to Me.
Yeah, Return. That was okay. I liked that one.
I remember liking that.
Yeah. But it's because of his ego. That's why he left. So,
I can see that.
Did you watch? I want to ask Michelle quickly. Did you watch that revival attempt from a few years ago?
I only saw bits and pieces.
I saw a couple of the comedy episodes, which were good, but then the regular episodes, it's like, I have no idea what this is.
No, I only saw a few of them. I haven't watched any more than that, so I don't know. I know they ended up having a child or whatever, but something happens to that child, and I'm unsure what. I think the first 3 seasons. I think the first 3 seasons of the X-Files were the best.
Yeah.
They could have stopped it after that.
Yeah, totally
because it did get ridiculous.
Stick with the standalones on the rewatch. Skip the mythology episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, so some quick facts here. While the central conspiracy plot spanned the show's run, most episodes were standalone cases. These cases did not directly impact the mythological story arc. And their and then obviously Moldy and Scullers, their exact feelings for each other remained mysterious, I think, until one of the other selections that we have coming up. So Gary, we're to you.
So this is me. So I'll kind of blow through these. So my first one is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I've been a lifelong Star Trek fan, and to me, Deep Space Nine is the crown jewel in the entire Star Trek franchise. You have Avery Brooks, who's Commander Sisko. He loses his wife at the Battle of Wolf 359 against the Borg that was on Next Generation. And he's a father with a young son. And so he's stationed to this remote, abandoned Cardassian space station above the planet Bajor, which the Cardassians had occupied for decades. And so they're there to help the planet recover from the devastation of the occupation and slowly prepare it for membership in the Federation. But in the pilot, there's a wormhole that gets discovered that's right there that leads to an entirely different quadrant, the Gamma Quadrant. And it suddenly makes this remote station like the most important one in the entire Federation. You have researchers and commerce and civilians coming through and everything. And so you have the Bajoran people who are deeply spiritual, and they consider the wormhole to be their celestial temple. The aliens who live inside it, they call the prophets, and they believe Commander Sisko as the emissary to these prophets. So he's forced to take on this religious role that he is very uncomfortable with. And so the show, you have a mix of Starfleet and military and civilian characters of several races. You have the second in command is Major Kira there. She's a former Bajoran freedom fighter. You have Security Chief Odo. He's like this changeling with mysterious origins. They all have to figure out a way to get along. And to me, I think that it really, like I said, qualifies really as a true epic. I mean, I think it has, a little bit of growing pains. The first season, for the most part, although there's some good stories in the first season, and just like all Trek shows, maybe about a season and a half to kind of find their way. But then I think it develops into the most mature storytelling of any of the Trek series. In the second season, you start to hear about this group in the Gamma Quadrant called the Dominion, who at the end of the second season emerges as like the main antagonist that carries through the entire rest of the series. In season 4, you have Michael Dorn coming on after Star Trek Generations. Michael Dorn comes on as Worf, who I think is better served in this series than he ever was in Next Generation. And there's like a year-long war with the Klingons. Then you have the whole the big Dominion War, which engulfs the whole Federation. That takes center stage for the last like 3 seasons of the show. And the thing about it is, for most of the Trek series, you have about 7 main Starfleet characters, with maybe sometimes an extra one like Wesley or something like that. But on this show, there's about 20 ongoing main and supporting characters, and you get invested in all of them. It hits social, cultural, religious issues the best way that, in the best tradition of Trek. The relationship between Sisko and his son Jake is just played to absolute perfection, as Sisko struggles to raise a young son in this kind of weird environment. I think you have this series to me features the best Star Trek character, second only to Spock, and that's Garak, who's this Cardassian who you think is a tailor, but who is actually much, much more. And there's so many plot lines on this show that it basically takes, in the final season, it takes a 10-part finale to wrap everything up. It's just an amazing show. And like I said, if you gave up on it because, well, I watched the first few episodes, you really got to stick with it, because it starts just rolling and rolling and rolling. And by the time that the Dominion show up, and then by the time Worf shows up, it's just absolutely, Brandy, yes, Garak is amazing. So, like I said, I have unreserved love for the show, and you really need to give it a try if you haven't sampled it yet.
And this is one of those Star Trek shows that were still good before it went to the dark side. I'm only on season 3, so I can't really comment a whole lot. I haven't seen it all, but what I've seen, I've enjoyed. Need to get back to it. Haven't done that yet, but it is one of the better Star Trek, shows for sure.
They did a 2-parter where a lot of the cast get thrust back in time to like the early, I think in their timeline, like the early 21st century, whatever. And it becomes kind of a story about, the homeless and the social situation and stuff that was done to perfection like decades before it became the.
And they did a version of from what I recall, they did a version of the Mirror Mirror universe, which I did enjoy quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. They actually, in the second season, they started doing Mirror Mirror episodes, and they did one a season, and they all kind of connected to each other. So it was like a little, when it appeared, it was like its own little narrative track that kept developing.
And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the nods to the original series, and I thought that was really well done. It's one of my favorites.
The 20th anniversary the 30th anniversary of Trek, they did a episode called Trials and Tribulations, where a lot of these go back. Absolutely, it's terrific. Where they go back into the original Trouble with Tribbles episode, and the way that they integrate them is like they're in the background and they can't interact with Kirk and Spock, and stuff. But that was a real anniversary celebration. That episode.
I'll tell you what's interesting about the show as well. A lot of people don't seem to make the connection. The guy who plays Cisco, don't you think he acts like Captain Kirk? Even the way he speaks, I'm going to go down there. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of the same tone as William Shatner, the way William Shatner.
He's more grumpy, though. He's a lot more grumpier.
Yeah. Well, no, I wouldn't say grumpy. I think that he's much more forceful, absolutely, than Picard was. Picard was kind of the staid diplomat. And Cisco, like I said, this is basically a Western. They are at the edge of the frontier in a frontier town, effectively, and he's the guy that's got to keep all these kind of plates spinning as you have all these elements. Then the show goes to a war footing, and he basically takes the helm during the war, and a lot of different elements.
I do like
one thing I didn't understand, though. One thing that bugs me about Cisco, though, is his hatred, or his understood it. Right, because his wife died because of Picard, right, and because Picard became part of the Borg, right? I got that, but it's just continuous on. You think there'd be some sort of, I haven't seen it all, but just where I'm at, it just seems like there's this hatred. Does that ever get better?
I actually think that's resolved for Picard at the end of the pilot, because Patrick Stewart's in the pilot, but
right, it does, but it's kind of like always there. It's like I think there was a later episode, and I could be wrong because it's been a while since I've actually watched it, but I'm just thinking, man, just let it go. It really.
Yeah, I think that's just his intensity. I don't think it's anger. I think it's just intensity.
I think
maybe I'm reading it wrong, but what's
really good about Star Trek, right, especially these times with these TV shows and stuff like that, is I used to dip in and out of this show, so I can't say I'm a huge fan. I did like what I saw and stuff like that. But what's fascinating about Star Trek of yesterday, I don't even want to mention the Star Trek of today, is that when you watch it out of sequence, you can see everything connecting. Like, I was watching First Contact a couple of days ago, and Worf was in that ship. Today might be a good day to die. Do you know what I mean? And then, so it's connected to that show. And then I was watching, I had to watch Undiscovered Country today, right? Because I'm doing a thing about it tonight. And that's connected to how the Klingons, got into the Federation, and how, the Klingons became kind of friends and stuff like that. So everything's connected, which is great.
This
spanned how many years? It's fantastic,
this was on 7 seasons. It's by the end of the second season, when the Dominion starts becoming more and more of a thing, it becomes a very heavily serialized show, where things grow and develop and everything. So it really, you really kind of have to watch it in sequence. Yeah, it's not like the original series where you.
I would definitely want to go back and kind of finish what I've started for sure.
That's what I'm saying. It feels like everything's connected, right? From the original Star Trek to the Next Generation to this and to Enterprise. At least the continuity was solid. If you look at the shows out of sync, you can see it's all solid. It all connects to one. Yeah. Unfortunately, today's Star Trek doesn't connect to anything.
No.
And like I said, there's at least 20, and I may be being conservative. There's at least 20 ongoing main and secondary characters who all continue to play a role. So it's not just focusing on a starship where you only really focus on 7 people.
Yeah.
So here's some facts about Deep Space Nine. Was the first Star Trek series to be created without the direct involvement of franchise creator Gene Roddenberry. And before the cult favorite Firefly, DS9 was originally conceived as a science fiction Western.
Wow.
And the last fact is, interestingly, Siddig and Colm Milne, who played Miles and O'Brien, had real-life disagreements while their characters were feeding on the show. It's interesting.
Yeah, O'Brien they brought over from Next Gen, and they gave him much, much more to do than Next Gen.
Yeah.
And I liked O'Brien. I like O'Brien in Deep Space Nine way more than Next Generation.
Well, his fuse over the
and he's also in Stargate
So my second choice is Angel, and I have not gone back to revisit this for a while, but I put it on my list because I absolutely loved this show when it was on. I think it's obviously a spinoff to Buffy, but I actually, in my opinion, I think this is a far superior spinoff to Buffy. Buffy, in my opinion, again, I'm just speaking for me, I think had two great seasons. Season 3, which was their last year in high school, where the villain was the mayor, and then season 5, which is the first one where her sister came on. All the other seasons of Buffy, I thought, ranged from average to kind of terrible. But with Angel, once it found its footing about halfway through the first season, I thought it was great. So Angel moves to LA. He opens up Angel Investigations as a PI, always battling his own nature. He's there to help the helpless and redeem himself. They bring over Cordelia from Buffy, and they bring over Wesley, who is kind of like a comic relief character, but he evolves into a great, solid character in this. And they become his team, and they're always fighting this this kind of demonic law firm called Wolfram and Hart. You have Gunn, who's the guy there on the right. He's kind of like a demon hunter. You have Renifred or Fred, who's an orphan from another dimension who comes and helps. And the writing on this was fantastic. You had, the first season was like a monster of the week while it finds its footing. Seasons 2, 3, and 4 of this is basically one 3-year arc. Because then they bring in Connor, who's Angel's and Darla's human son. He's not a vampire. But you become just so invested with the characters. The dynamic is very, the tone is very noirish. Their base of operations is this kind of old classic style LA hotel. And in season 5, they kind of reformat a little bit. Spike comes in as a supporting character. They bring in Harmony, who was like this ditzy blonde from the original Buffy series. She becomes the secretary and stuff. But the storytelling to me was so great. And then they could go off and do goofball episodes like this.
Yeah, and I was going to ask this. What is the deal with the puppet?
It's an episode called Smile Time. And Angel becomes, which it's not, it doesn't take away from the show at all. It doesn't, I mean, it's a comedy episode, but the occasional comedy doesn't detract.
Well, I think I do. I enjoy that in series. I mean, obviously Supernatural does it all the time. And I think that's needed sometimes to break up the seriousness of the show when it gets too dark. And I'm sure this show could get pretty dark at times.
Yeah. Oh, well, it did. But like I said, you love the characters so much. I'm not going to spoil, but even the ending, the way the series ends, is kind of on a cliffhanger-ish type. It's kind of a darkish, but absolutely. I mean, I see in the words there, it really carves its own path. I mean, Buffy shows up a couple of times in later seasons, but really it leaves kind of the Buffy element kind of in the rearview mirror as it kind of, creates its own path.
So I tried to watch Buffy. I couldn't get into Buffy at all, and I do like vampire shows.
Two great seasons out of 7 for Buffy.
But this is probably a little bit different than Buffy, I'm gathering, because you kind of latched onto it.
It's darker, but not depressing.
Okay, that's interesting. So the facts, unlike its predecessor, Buffy, Angel delved into neo-noir supernatural fiction and explored darker themes. The show carved its own path, introducing a new cast of beloved characters and emphasizing adult, complex, and heavily serialized storytelling. Fans can explore further adventures of Angel and his team through the comics Angel After the Fall. And I'm assuming that you've looked into these comics.
No, the number of Buffy and Angel comics has just gotten so extreme that there's no chance to follow it. But,
right.
Yeah, no. So, but I mean, people in the chat, I can tell, seem to remember the show. And
I remember it being very popular.
Yeah, it has its own vibe.
Yeah, Wynn says agree. Buffy went on too long, sadly, but I still love the show so much. I lost my own mom at the same time Buffy lost her mom, and the show was going out live. It really helped me at the time. Okay, I think that's awesome that a show can get you through your grief.
Yeah.
And then
Buffy went on
Angel
a couple
had
seasons too long, but this was just 5 seasons, and it was a good run.
It was a good run. Like 5 seasons to me is a perfect run for a show.
Yeah.
I think when it goes on longer, you know, it.
Did you ever watch Angel? Did you ever watch this, Ian?
I watched it, but I wasn't too much into it. Didn't Spike join the
in
cast
the 5th
at one
season?
point?
Yeah, they brought him. They brought him over. Yeah,
and my brother was very much into it. My brother kept saying, "You should watch this. You should watch this. It's much better than Buffy." I never got the chance, to tell the truth, because at that moment in time, I was working for a post-production company, and it was like 24/7 working for them. I'd worked for them for 5 years. So the shows I was really into when I was working at post-production was X-Files, because I used to tape that. But I never actually got the chance to get into Angel. I think I saw a couple of episodes because I think I fancied one of the girls when I saw an episode. I go, "Oh, I'll watch it because of her." I think it's the
Amy Acker, who plays Fred in this, is just great.
Yeah.
She went on later on to be on Person of Interest. But in the 5th season, they brought in Lorne, who was if you go back to the other picture, Andy, who's like the kind of green demon there, who's this very flamboyant, pacifist, kind of showy character who brought his own kind of semi-comedy vibe to it. And the scene there you see, that's the scene where Darla it's great. It's like this, they're out in the rain, and that's where she gives birth to their son before she dies.
I was going to say, did it? So how many seasons did it run for, Gary?
5.
So in the 5th season, was it a good ending, or was it a bad ending, or did it leave it a cliffhanger?
It was a good, appropriate ending for this show.
Oh, okay. All right.
Michelle, did you watch Angel at all?
No, I've only seen a few episodes of Buffy, but now that I'm gonna have to, I guess, check it out, because that's, I guess, Root from Person of Interest. Is that what you said, Gary? She played Root.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'll definitely have to check it out.
What I would do, you need to watch the first 3 seasons of Buffy, and then go on to this, because this kind of takes off after the end of the graduation from
okay.
Was that the last episode, Gary? Sorry.
The graduation episode, the graduation was season 3, and then
gotcha.
They have a couple of crossover episodes later on, but other than that, Angel just kind of starts blazing its own trail after that.
Okay.
All right. So moving on to your
my next one is the great Batman the Animated Series. Directly inspired, obviously, by the 1989 Michael Keaton film in look and tone. Bruce Timm created, developed by Paul Dini. This was a real groundbreaking series. It had exceptional writing and animation design, voice acting. Danny Elfman did the soundtrack, which is very reminiscent of his 1989 film. You had the great title cards for each episode. And really, this has influenced the character ever since. I mean, you have Kevin Conroy, who I think is voice-wise is the definitive Batman.
Fantastic.
You have Mark Hamill, who is just beyond unbelievable as the Joker. Arlene Sorkin, this is where Harley Quinn got her start. The voice cast, I mean, you had Paul Williams as the Penguin. You had Roddy McDowall was the Mad Hatter. You had David Warner was Ra's al Ghul. You had Adrienne Barbeau as Catwoman. And all the villains were given these great stories. You have Mr. Freeze in this one, who becomes a really tragic character. You have Two-Face and Clayface and all of these. And there were spin-off movies, Mask of the Phantasm, which is a great Batman movie. Fantastic. But just even watching the opening sequence of this, where he's on the rooftop watching the criminals break into the bank, and then he stops all the criminals, and then you hear the da na 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 na. You know, it totally sets it all up, and this led to the establishment of the entire DC animated universe with Superman the Animated Series, Justice League. This is the show where that all began. So, and the whole thing is, you can get the whole thing on Blu-ray. So,
yeah.
Ian and Michelle, were you fans of this one?
I never saw it. I'm not a huge Batman fan. I like the '60s Batman, the old series. So I'll have to look at that and see where I can find it.
I was a huge fan of this show. I used to watch it all the time. Just thought it was the height of animation being taken seriously, wasn't it, at that moment in time? And just listening to Mark Hamill's voice as the Joker just takes me back to those days. And again, it's very unique. The design of the Gotham City and the actual design of the whole of the cartoon is just very unique. And it's a shame, really, we don't have cartoons like that. I remember the first season had Batman punching people and throwing people across the desks and stuff. And then some idiot above decided, oh no, Batman can't punch anyone anymore. I remember season 2 or 3, he throws a punch and you don't see it connect and see somebody fly across. And it's just, you notice those things when you're watching stuff like that. And you mentioned the film, didn't you? The Phantasm, was it the Phantasm film?
Mask of the Phantasm.
And that was brilliant. I think I was the only one that saw it in the cinema because it was a huge flop, wasn't it? So I really
but it's now acknowledged as like one of the great Batman.
Really good story.
I mean, it's one of my son's favorite videos he watched when he was a kid, and I thought it was, for what it was a really good film.
Yeah,
I mean, it was definitely more. It was for kids and adults.
Yeah,
that's what I liked about it.
Yeah. It really. I mean, you're right, Andy. I mean, it walked that line to where, whether you were an old time like comics fan, you got something out of it. It wasn't. There was everything there for kids. Adults could appreciate the writing and the look of it, and nobody even bothers to do anything which appeals to everybody anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Oh well.
All right, so here's some facts about the Batman animated series. The dark gothic tones of Tim Burton's Batman significantly influenced the show. Tim Curry was originally cast as the Joker before Mark Hamill took the part, and I could hear that. So when I was gathering these facts, I just couldn't get that out of my head. The voice of Tim Curry doing
I guess
Joker.
He recorded a few, but then had some problems with his throat, like laryngitis or something. And
could you not hear that though? Him. Because I don't know. I mean, I think they sound very similar, actually, if you think about it. I mean, Mark Hamill.
I could see Tim Curry's Joker being more of the kind of like silky smooth type of Joker, though. But Mark Hamill makes it absolutely insane.
Yeah, he's more the insanity, and there's some insanity to Tim Curry, but it's much more flamboyant and smooth, I would think. But I couldn't get out of my head after
I think was Andrea Romano, was this woman who was basically in charge of all the voice casting. And the stars that she got to do all the voices for this, of all the villains and stuff, I mean, she got like A-list stars to come in and voice this show. So
yeah. Kevin Conroy, who had passed away recently, didn't he?
Yeah.
At least in the last 6 months.
Yep.
The voice of Batman skillfully differentiated between Bruce Wayne and Batman. So there you have it.
Yeah.
It's a great cartoon.
This is your third choice.
That is, yes. And
speaking of Bruce Campbell,
this is a show that was tragically only on for a season, but it was an amazing season. So this was on Fox Network. And if you are a Bruce Campbell fan, and I think this is the best thing Bruce Campbell ever did. So The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. So this is a show that is a Western, science fiction, comedy, drama, romance, action show. So it's 1893. Bruce Campbell is Briscoe County Jr., who's like a Harvard-educated lawyer. He's hired by these robber barons as a bounty hunter after this outlaw named John Bly and his gang of 12 murder his father, who was like this legendary U.S. Marshal. And so he takes it upon himself to complete his father's work and go and recapture all of these. He has a horse named Comet, and if you go back to the other picture, there's a rival bounty hunter, the guy in the back, Lord Bowler, who at first they're rivals, but then they become partners. And so also here is Kelly Rutherford as Dixie Cousins, who's this kind of like sultry dance hall singer who becomes Briscoe's primary love interest. You have the great John Astin, who is basically who is kind of like the Wild Wild West element of this. He's like this inventor who invents all these ahead of their time gadgets, like rockets or airships or diving suits or whatever. And he's great. And like I said, the only word for this show is unique because, like I said, it incorporates all of those things: Western, science fiction, comedy, and elements of the old movie serials, because there's chapter headings, chapter 1, chapter 2, and all this stuff. And there's science fiction elements because if you see the like right there at the top, he's trying to catch a train by sitting on one of Professor Wickwire's rockets like a horse. There's also a science fiction element because one of the ongoing elements is the presence of this thing called the orb, which is that gold thing there at the bottom, which John Bly is after for some reason. It's this mysterious object which has mysterious powers. And there's the kind of science fictional elements because at some point you find out that Bly is actually from the 26th century, who's come back in time to find this orb and control the world with it. And so
it's very reminiscent of Wild Wild West in a way because it's taking a Western theme.
In a way, but they're not. I mean, they're not spies, obviously, like in Wild Wild West,
obviously.
but the incorporation of the kind of Western action science fiction motif.
I
said, I think this is the best. This is the best thing Bruce Campbell ever
I actually watched this when it aired, and I did enjoy it.
So
I haven't gone back to revisit it, but
kind of a little, some steampunkish and stuff, and then like you see like these prototype motorcycles, which they call like steel horses because nobody had ever seen them before. Just a unique, wonderful show, and it is also on the entire series is on DVD.
The one season.
But more than usual. I think they did 27 episodes as opposed to the usual 22 or 21.
I didn't realize that they had done that many of them.
Yeah, there was a lot. So it's bigger than normal season.
Okay.
So
Michelle, did you watch any of this when this was on?
No, I didn't, but I do remember seeing it, in like flipping the channels or whatever. So
yeah,
I'll have to check that out.
What about you, Ian? Did you ever come across this one?
Nope.
Oh, Ian, you'd love it. If you like Bruce Campbell, Ian, you'd love it.
I do love Bruce Campbell, but I've never heard of the show ever. It's not been in UK or anything like that.
That might be a hard one.
If you like Bruce Campbell, Ian, you'll love.
And I have opinions about this is the best thing Bruce Campbell's ever been in, but we'll discuss that when we do our best of 2000s.
And also great theme music, which they grabbed later on and used for the Olympics. They used the theme music from this show.
Wow, I did not know that. See, that's a
very
bit of trivia that I didn't come across.
Logo, isn't it? Very Indiana Jones-ish.
Yeah, he's very, he has the Bruce Campbell kind of wit and snark and sarcasm.
That we've all come to
it was
love.
Created by Carlton Cuse, who went on later to create like a lot of other stuff, including Lost and all the stuff. So
here's some quick facts. I combined the science fiction Western genres, creating a unique blend for the show, which we talked about. In 2006, Warner Home Video released a DVD. I did read that, actually. I just didn't read it. Released a DVD set containing all 27 episodes, allowing fans to revisit the quirky and adventurous world. But unfortunately, Fox canceled the show after the first and only season.
Yeah, well, that's Fox. What do you want?
Did it not do well, though, in the ratings? Is that why they canceled?
Probably not. I don't remember it being very popular.
Yeah, I think it was. They had plans for, like Carlton Cuse said, that they know where it had gone on for a second season. They know where it would have gone. They said they would have made, now that the whole John Bly element was done, because it does, all the stories do get wrapped up. No cliffhangers, great ending, all of that. They said that probably like he would have like settled in as maybe like kind of a sheriff-ish figure, like in a weird small town. He and Dixie might have probably gotten married. So they had plans for continuing it on and just kind of tweaking the format.
But, Miranda's Media says, I now have another series for my list.
Absolutely.
This is why we do these, because a lot of people may not know of something we've seen and we like to give suggestions. So this is why these lists are important. Yeah. This is why these lists are superior to Entertainment Weeklies and Colliders and all this.
Just that one picture there, if you like the concept of Bruce Campbell in a Western sitting on a rocket with reins on it, running down a railroad track, this show will be for you.
Bruce Campbell's been in so many different types of shows that, yeah, this is normal compared to what else he's done, to be honest with you. All right, so here's your last choice.
My last one is more of a sentimental favorite because I'm probably the only person who's in the chat or panel who's heard of this. This was a TV movie. It came out in 1993. It was on Fox. Called 1201, ironically the same year as Groundhog Day, but this approaches it from a Groundhog Day concept and straight science fiction angle. So
breaking up, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, how about now? I was on my.
Yeah,
it's better.
Sound right now.
Okay, so this takes the Groundhog Day theme in a straight science fiction angle. He works for Jonathan Silverman works for this high tech company that is one of their inventions or whatever. Accidentally, he gets a shock at the moment at 12:01, which puts him into a time bounce, which then makes him run the day back over and over. But when he does that, he finds out that the woman he loves from afar, who's Helen Slater there, who's a scientist there at the complex, gets killed. And but then when the time bounce happens, he realizes he has a chance to go back and save her, but then he's also got to figure out why is the time bounce happening and stop it. But then if like something bad happens during one of the reruns, like his best friend there, who's Jeremy Piven, gets killed during one of the reruns, he thought, well, I've got to let it run through now because I've got to let things reset in order to stop that from happening too. So it's basically him trying to kind of get himself out of the time bounce, save the woman he loves, figure out why it's happening and stop it. And so if you like the Groundhog Day concept but want to see it done in a straight science fiction mode, this is one to track down.
It's one for us.
I think I watched it when it came out, but I haven't seen it since then. Yeah. I do remember this.
It's on video, so
okay.
Good. And there's me. There's me and my.
I can sail the seas.
Never seen this.
There you go.
I haven't either.
No.
So this might be one for our list, guys, just to have something non-woke to watch.
Absolutely, it is non-woke.
It's got Supergirl in it, so I might watch it.
She's great in this, yes. Because he keeps finding out more and more things about her. So to prove himself as the time jumps go on, he's got to shorthand it. So when he meets her, she's like, well, who are you? And she goes, well, okay, you're this, you're this, you're this. And she's like, how do you know all that? That kind of thing. So
time traveler.
They always say that.
Yeah. So
all right, so here's some facts. 1201 blends elements of science fiction, thriller, and even a touch of a suspense. Imagine a scenario where every day resets the same moment akin to a time loop. Of course, like fans of movies like Groundhog Day, Back to the Future might find this concept intriguing. Great list, Gary.
Thank you.
Definitely some different ones, and obviously the chat is excited about they having a couple new unknown shows that they can watch. So that's
track them down.
All right.
All right.
So Ian, here we go.
Is Independence Day, directed by Roman Emmerich, a German.
And obviously he was the another one on this list, which was Stargate.
So basically, he's a German, and the heroes of this piece is a Jewish guy and a black guy. Work that one out. You know, a lot of people don't realize that when they watch this film. When they watch this film, they don't realize that the world was saved by a Jewish guy, a black man, and it was directed by a German. So,
well, wait a minute. It was also saved by a redneck.
Absolutely.
Randy Quaid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there you go. You know, there you go. But I like this film because it had the balls to show what could happen if creatures that didn't like anything would come and take over and stuff like that. But also, right, I remember seeing the trailer and thinking, this is a serious film, but really getting a shock watching it because it was a popcorn movie. I didn't realize it was a popcorn movie. I saw the trailer and I thought, oh, this is a serious film about aliens trying to take over the world, like War of the Worlds and stuff like that. And when I went to see it, it was far more enjoyable than I thought it was ever going to be. And because Will Smith was in it, he made it better, in my opinion, with his gags and stuff like that. And the climax was just it was just so enjoyable that you just threw everything out the window and thought, you know what, you just go with it. You know, it's just a popcorn flick, you just go with it. And again, right, I admire the balls of these people to do something like this, because any other filmmaker would have just had it really serious and stuff.
Yeah,
like
you
that.
know,
But,
I remember actually going to see this 4th of July weekend when it came out.
Yeah,
and it was big over here because it was Independence Weekend, right? And then you're seeing this movie and you're seeing this great speech from Bill Pullman. You're already in the whole patriotic mode.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what they were doing when they promoted this movie to Americans, first of all. You got, Bill Pullman talking about today is our Independence Day. And I think everybody in the theater just cheered.
Yeah.
So it was an experience.
And also, right, again, right, I would say this, the audience, when I went to see, in those days when you went to see a film like this, it was packed. You couldn't, you have to get there early just to get a seat. In those days, you could sit anywhere. These days, you'll have to book a seat. Ugh. Anyway, right, so when I saw this film, the audience were with this film every step of the way. And the visual effects were good. And again, Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith, especially when they flew together and they were in the ship, and it was just a delight to watch. I can't say any more than what I'm saying. There's no one no one I know that didn't like this film when it came out.
I actually bought this on VHS when it came out. I actually did. I enjoyed it very much. I haven't watched it in years because I think I kind of got away from the blockbuster sci-fi thing. You get kind of where you're watching a more serious sci-fi shows like Interstellar and things like that, and Moon. And this was one on your list that I actually, because I was like just doing the research and putting the pictures together, it actually made me want to watch it again.
Yeah.
So this is the one I wanted to rewatch, one of them, and I just didn't get to. But that doesn't mean I won't.
Well,
I remember
there's
really
the
loving
the big shot right there of the White House blowing up.
Yeah, I wanted to
make
sure
I love it. I cheer when that happens in films. I mean,
I would really cheer it happen now.
He takes that clip and runs it on a loop.
No kidding. I tried posting that, but it wouldn't let me.
Oh, yeah,
it says this comment has failed to post. I'm like, okay.
Do you know,
I'll say
out of everything that happened in this movie, right? There's two bits I really love in this movie, and they're the kind of small bits. One is when Will Smith is on top of the ship and the alien comes out and he punches it and he says, "Welcome to Earth," which I thought was just the audience just cheered.
Yeah.
And the last bit where Randy Quaid says, looks up and says "F you," and then he flies the ship into.
I love Randy Quaid. I love that scene. That's my favorite scene in the whole entire show.
Great scene. Yeah. Terrific. Great film.
So redneck.
The one I got it really quickly. The one scene that I always think of when I when I think of this movie is the scene where all the Will Smith's girlfriend and her son are in the car and they're in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And you have the fire coming in the tunnel and they get in the door with the dog just in time. I thought, wow, isn't it lucky that fire only goes one direction straight and doesn't like go everywhere and kind of roast them alive.
You're thinking too hard, Gary. You're thinking just to enjoy it. Just sit back and enjoy
But
the
I mean, a lot of people don't realize how well this film was directed. I mean, Roman Emmerich, he's not a very good director, but just the idea of the bulb blowing out and everything turns to black when that scene ends. I mean, what a great piece of editing.
So this would have been the first movie that he did after Stargate, right?
Yeah,
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, this was 1996. So Stargate was in 1994.
I do.
I have to ask Ian. What did you think of the sequel?
Hated it. Waste of my time. A waste of everyone's time. In fact, I mean, I don't understand how that script could have passed compliance. I don't understand how that script can actually get greenlit. It was absolute. The whole thing was absolute nonsense. You got to admit, what a waste of time. Waste of money.
I refused to watch it because the original was magical. It was like the cast was perfect.
Yeah.
I just couldn't see them emulating something that they'd done. Like it was Kismet. You can't redo that. It's very difficult.
So I just because I know that your time's running. One of the basic things on this is what I learned was that they went to the government and said, we're making this film, and the army said, oh great, we'll help you with everything, we'll supply you with tanks, blah blah blah, whatever. But then once they learned they were talking about the place that we should not mention, and the aliens and stuff, everybody pulled out, the army, the government, everyone. So that's interesting, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting when you mention that place. So I find that very interesting.
So here's some facts about Independence Day. The film set a new standard for visual effects, utilizing groundbreaking CGI and delivering impressive destruction sequences. I agree. The alien mothership in the movie was one of the largest props ever constructed, measuring around 1,600 feet in diameter, which is big. The design of the alien spaceship drew inspiration from the works of H.R. Geiger, famous for creating the xenomorph in the movie Alien, and I can totally see why that spaceship does very, very, very reminiscent of anything alien.
I think that the first bit's wrong. CGI didn't really have CGI in this film. I mean, it was around.
Was it more practical effects?
It was mostly practical effects and camera. What is it? Remote control camera rigs. How they did Star Wars.
AI does lie. You have to check them quite often, actually.
Yeah, I don't think unless CGI means something else that I don't understand. But I don't think there was.
Probably did do some CGI, but I would think the alien was practical effects because the alien looked like practical effects. It didn't
most of
it.
Well,
the one that Will Smith punched certainly was.
Yeah, it was all practical. Most of it was practical. So. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
AI is wrong again.
I like how they put Brent Spiner in there as the mad scientist down in the lab. I thought he did great with that.
Yeah.
I love the idea that he was dressed that way, and you can tell he'd never been out.
Yes,
he's been there for like years.
All right. So here's your second choice: The X-Files: Fight for the Future. We know we talked about X-Files earlier, but this is the movie.
I absolutely adore this movie. Seriously, I love this. I love the TV show. It should have ended here. From the opening sequence in the snow to when a really great transition between the thing breaking and you see the kid fall in there. It just kept you on your toes all the way through. I just thought it was a great movie. The thing that sticks out in my head is the ending. When he rescues Scully and they're in the snow and he's saying, Scully, look up, and she passes out and she doesn't again, she doesn't see it. You know what I mean?
She doesn't see what she's been skeptical about for all these years.
Which really made me smile because that's what the film was all about. And again, it is a great example of how to take a TV show onto the big screen. I just loved every moment of it. I loved the bit where they're on the roof, and they're looking on another roof, and the FBI looking on the other. I mean, Mulder knows that there's something wrong, doesn't he? Because he's that weird. So they're searching another roof. I like the bit with the joke where she goes, the door's locked, and Mulder's like, what? And he pulls the door open. She's like, I can see in your face that you all that stuff, all the gags, and and even the big stuff as well. And you know what I mean? And I just thought it was a great movie, well handled, good special effects, great edge of your seat stuff, especially with the bomb in the beginning, with you know, when he was sitting there. You know, it was just a great entertaining movie as far as I'm concerned. You know, I'll stop there.
I love that building that they're out, I guess the corporate with the slats.
Yeah,
and you know the slats kind of chunk, and then all the bees start coming out.
Yeah.
So I gotta know, because this picture that I found, what in the hell is going on in this picture here with this thing that's in her mouth?
That's so basically she gets kidnapped and she gets put into these what is it, things where the aliens are gonna take them away or use them or whatever, and that's one of the things that go into her mouth, into her stomach. And so when Mulder rescues her, he has to pull it out of her mouth. And then, but the thing that makes me laugh, I don't know if have you guys seen this movie?
I have not seen this movie.
So basically they're like, I was in the Arctic and she's not wearing any clothes. So when he pulls her out there, I don't know how she survived. He puts the coat on her, doesn't he? It's like she's completely naked under that coat, right? So it's like, what? So, but anyway.
I like when he's like sliding down the top of the ship as it's emerging.
Yeah, it's terrific. Absolutely terrific. It's a great movie. It doesn't get enough credit. I think it's very
What would you give this one? I didn't ask everyone, but what did you think of 1 to 10? What would you give this movie?
I'd give this an 8 because I was really entertained from start to finish.
And for coming from you, and not that you're negative, but I'm saying you're kind of a hard sell on a show. So for me, an 8 means a really good. From you, it means it's a really good show.
Not really. All you've done is heard me be negative, but I'm very positive about shows. There's a lot of shows
I don't mean that. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that like you're hard sell. You know what I mean? Like you have high standards. You know, it has to be something really entertaining.
Yeah, as I said, right. You know, this is a great companion to the TV show. This is where it should have stopped. This is where, I mean, I don't mind not knowing all the answers because that's what happens in real life sometimes, right? I would have think it was a perfect stop from this film to finish that. You know what I mean? But it didn't. It just carried on. It was like, why? You know. So, but anyway.
All right. So here's some facts. Mythology focus. The storyline delves into the series extraterrestrial. I can't talk. Extraterrestrial mythology, uncovering a government conspiracy related to an alien colonization of Earth. That's scary. During production, the film was codenamed Project Blackwood. Chris Carter assembled cast and crew from the show, including well-known actors like Blythe Danner and Mountain Landau. It was also in another one of our 1201. I think he was in that show too. So he's been in 2 films that have been mentioned. I don't know. I'm fascinated with how many actors that it's the same in some of these movies, and I think Jeff Goldblum's in another one that we've mentioned that's coming up next.
Oh, is it?
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is an amazing film. Even as it stands today, it is a pretty amazing film. I personally think Spielberg is the best director of all times. I haven't seen any director that can top this man's talent. He is an incredible talent. He's incredibly imaginative as well. Obviously, he knows what to do with a novel. If you look at Jaws, it's nothing like the novel, but he knew what to do to get the audience in and actually entertain people. So with Jurassic Park, it's kind of slightly divorced from the original novel, but Spielberg knows it has to be a movie. So he treated it as such. So when you watch this, you're totally enthralled. And the groundbreaking effects were enough to get people screaming into the cinema and take over Star Wars.
Me there.
Crown.
Also, to make this edit, as I can't edit it right now, but this came out in 1993, not 1996. It was a long night with this PowerPoint, so obviously I forgot to correct that. But it's 1993.
We forgive you.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I mean, what can one say? Every sequence in that film was directed with such perfection. It really was. I mean, okay, so most people don't know what really good direction is. There is an art to it, you know, which is being lost today. But I'll just give you an example. Do you remember the first time we see Dodson, the guy who wanted the fat guy to give him all the things?
Oh, yeah.
The first thing you see is the car pulls up, right? And you don't even see him. His legs step out of the car, and he's holding the case. He's holding the case, isn't he? The bag, and it just focuses on the bag. So subconsciously, the audience are told that there's something in this bag. There's something about what's going on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he walks up to him and he puts it on the table, and then they start talking and stuff like that. So that's just one facet of the way Spielberg directs, it's just an amazing. I really call Jurassic Park an art piece because a lot of people look at it as popcorn stuff, but it's more than that. It's more.
And it still stands up. Like I haven't watched it in years. I might watch it and go, yeah, the CGI looks a little weird, but I remember that's what got me in the theater because I remember being really fascinated with how the dinosaurs look so real. I mean, at the time, that was something we hadn't been used to. I mean, we had practical effects and stuff, but it just seemed like it was amazing how they did everything.
Look at the way he directed when the T-Rex appeared. Every kid was waiting for the T-Rex to appear, right? What do we get? We get a glass of water that shakes. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? We get the bit where it's trying to bite the kids when it comes through the window. We've got that freaking awesome scene where he's holding off the edge with the girl on his back, whether the car's going to fall on them. All of it's edge of your seat stuff. Any other director wouldn't have.
And you get a good cast too. Sam Neill.
Sam
Neill's an awesome actor.
Well, and you also have, to your point about directorial choices, you have like little snatches of kind of black humor with the whole objects in the mirror maybe closer than they appear, which is great, but doesn't take away from the tension of the scene. And especially the scene there on the top left, where we're aching to see a dinosaur at that point, and you see Sam Neill's reaction first. And then that heightens your anticipation for seeing it, because you can see that he is awestruck. And then they do that circle around where you see, I guess it's the brontosaurus or whatever, and the music cue comes up and everything, and it's just amazing.
Even the way it starts, right? It starts with intrigue. The first shot you see is people with guns standing there, and it tracks towards the main guy that looks after Jurassic Park, looks after the animals and stuff. You don't know what's going on. Got that case with the creature screaming in there, and when it goes crazy, they're poking it with the rods and everything. It's all done. Again, right? If you want to see a well-made film, a piece of art, this should be hung in a bloody freaking gallery. It's so good, right? Seriously, the effect still stands up today. These effects, they're pretty amazing. This is a film that should be treasured.
And with all the great effects, though, I will say my personal favorite scene in this movie, and I watch it on YouTube. I watch this scene on YouTube periodically. And I think it's one of the best scenes that Spielberg did, was the scene at lunch where they're discussing the ethics of what they're doing.
Yeah, fantastic.
Goldblum is so good in that scene, where he's saying, before you even know what you had, you packaged it, and you have no idea about the dangers inherent. I just think, and then Laura Dern chimes in, and Sam Neill chimes in, but I think Goldblum in that scene is awesome. That whole scene to me is just Spielberg. That's just perfection, that scene.
But Spielberg's an old school director. So basically in the old days, in the 40s and the 50s, when they used to put a story across, they used to do a lot of shortcuts. So they do things like they'll show you something and immediately you'll know what's going on, which is lost today. That kind of art is lost today. Especially the scene where they're trying to explain how the dinosaurs were made. They've made a cartoon. There was a cartoon to watch, and when you watch the cartoon, you understand it was the DNA, blah, blah, blah. And that's another shortcut, instead of having a scientist splurt out, this is how we made the dinosaurs, you know what I mean? So Spielberg's really good with the shortcuts and stuff like that, because he's essentially a 40s director, where you didn't have enough money and you needed to get information out as fast as you can. So again, I can't tell you what kind of genius filmmaking this is, because it really is. I know you guys don't understand, because I've studied directing for a very long time, and I know what really good direction is and good storytelling, and this has it in abundance.
I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, I think I know what you're saying, though. Yeah. It's like Kubrick, Kubrick's a little long in the tooth with some of the stuff, but Spielberg gets to the point.
Does,
I don't know if you know what you're on the wrong, if I'm on the right track, but Spielberg gets to the point in his movies while Kubrick is long in the tooth.
Yeah.
But Spielberg gets to the point, and I think that's why it works. He did it in Close Encounters. He's done it in Jaws. You know, he knows when to cut a scene. I don't know if that's where you're going with it.
No, totally. I don't mean to be condescending or insulting to you guys.
No.
You know, but again, right? I'd always say this, and I always have arguments with people. There's no way you can't contest that Spielberg's the best director in the world. He is the best director in the world. I'm sorry. Just due to the amount of success that he's had.
Well,
no director rivaled.
I might debate that a little
Ian,
bit.
I'm curious then, Ian, what would you say are in your opinion, his two best movies?
E.T. and Close Encounters. That's it.
I would say Jaws and Close Encounters.
I do love Jaws. I love Jaws. Well directed.
So what would you say, Gary?
I would say Jaws and Close Encounters.
Okay, Michelle.
But this one has
no pressure.
This one's right up.
Well, didn't Spielberg also do Schindler's List?
He did. Fantastic movie.
I mean, that one just because of the, you know, but it's not a science fiction film. But I think he did superb on Schindler's List.
All right.
Gosh, I guess Close Encounters, especially to have Richard Dreyfuss building the mashed potato mound.
That was great.
Yeah.
I saw Schindler's List once. I can't see it again because it affects me.
I can only watch it once. It's a one-watch show.
Yeah.
It
is.
And it's unfortunate with this franchise after such brilliant beginnings.
Yes, absolutely.
What it is, they've kind of just so run it into the ground now.
Yes, definitely. But sorry, I don't want to. But just this is just one of my favorite films of all time. So
no, I get it. I mean, I'm enjoying the fact that people are like geeking out. I see this is so much better than the last stream we did, only because
the fact that you
it got
can
a lot
have
of
two
views.
kids in this movie and neither one of them is annoying is a miracle in itself.
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean,
I learned all my dinosaurs through Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Because
and it made,
I had boys.
Did it not make you want to learn more? See, this is what the difference is today. We were talking about earlier with the Stargate.
Yeah,
is that they wanted you to learn. They wanted to intrigue you to where you would go and research yourself what the situation was. Right now, they want to try to educate you and brainwash you with false facts. You know what I mean? That's
today,
the difference.
right? Today, if they're doing a scene where basically they find an insect stuck in a what's that thing it was stuck in? Amber. They do like nine different shots, but Spielberg did it in one. He had the thing digger. They saw the thing, and the camera zooms in straight into the thing, and you can see it inside the amber. He did it in one shot. Today they would have 9 cameras. You know, cut 6 times.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
They had some Kubrick would have done a 30-minute shot.
Yeah, he would have.
The Amber 2001 is a goodie, but I like Kubrick. I'm not trying to like.
I understand what Ian's saying. I mean, economy and making every shot count. And I know Ian probably is so tightly attuned for this about making every single shot count and add to the story. Is.
But I'm rambling here, but just look at the difference between Spielberg and say Kubrick. Kubrick's all about visually looking beautiful, visually looking beautiful, but also atmospheric things that make it connect with you.
Yeah.
But Spielberg, takes the best of both worlds. He shows you something beautiful, but he also shows you it in a good space of time. He doesn't dwell on it.
Perfected what Kubrick was trying to do. Kubrick is by all means there's some definitely brilliance there, but I think some of it is just a little it's a little much, you know. But Spielberg perfected that. You're correct. I agree. I miss directors like Spielberg, and it's nice to hear you. I mean, not that you aren't happy about stuff, but it's nice to hear anyone geek about what they love. And it's infectious. It actually makes me want to rewatch Jurassic Park, and I haven't rewatched it in years.
Look how economical he is when he directs. I mean, I saw an awful film he directed recently. West Side Story. Absolute shit. But the way he directed those scenes, the dance sequences and stuff like that, you just can't compare him to other directors. He
Spielberg understands a deadline.
Yeah,
that's
he does.
He understands it.
Yeah.
I think because I'm sure he was the top director in probably the 70s and 80s. If you think about it,
still is. I'll give you one more example. Right? Do you remember Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yeah.
So any other director would have directed this differently. So basically, Marion gets kidnapped and she gets put into a basket. Do you remember the scene? So Indiana Jones runs into this corridor. He turns around. Then he runs towards the screen. There's a huge close-up of his eyes. The audience doesn't know what he's looking at. The camera pulls out. There's hundreds of baskets. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is direction.
Yeah.
That is keeping the audience out of it until they need to know.
Yeah.
That is direction.
Exactly.
Right. So there you go.
That's yes.
There you go. So
see, and that scene you talk about, I'm still trying to follow the basket that she could have been in, and you can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can't.
Yeah.
And you want to.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
You want to know. You want to figure out. Let's see if we can figure it out.
Because I know that Ian, of course, always has so much time on his hands. I would love to see a series of videos from you just analyzing, like talking about your favorite movies from directors, showing clips and why.
I would watch that.
Why these certain directors, like, here's what he did here, here's what she did here. I would eat that up.
I would love that actually, because I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So make it happen.
There's a lot of videos out there
that
actually does that. So
Yeah, but
I can only talk about my love.
Well, that's what I mean. No.
You're also sardonic, and we need that.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Darkman.
So here's your third choice, Darkman, which I've never seen this movie.
Have you not seen it?
I haven't.
Now I need to see it.
So this movie is a low budget superhero horror thing. Okay, so the story is Liam Neeson plays this scientist that discovers he's trying to make synthetic skin for people who are damaged, whatever. I can't remember how it goes, but something happens and these villains come in and they blow up his lab and he gets burnt to a crisp, basically, but he's still alive. So he basically creates the skin, but it only lasts for an hour. so basically he can disguise himself as somebody else because he wants to find out who did this to him. So he wants to find. So basically, he disguises himself as someone else, but the skin starts bubbling, obviously, when an hour goes by. So the reason why I like this film so much is because it's very silly, right? It's very cheap. But also, it's incredibly well directed by Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi's an incredible director, right?
Also
it's
the
obvious
director of Evil Dead.
Yeah, it's obvious that Sam Raimi wanted to do a superhero thing, and he didn't have the rights to anything, so he created his own one, which is The Darkman. So it's if you haven't seen this film, I recommend it. But it's definitely keeps its tongue in its cheek. And it's not serious at all, but you do care about the characters towards the ending, and it's very, very entertaining in a horrible way. That's up to you guys.
You know what? Yeah. You had me at low budget and horrible way, because you'll see my list and realize this is the perfect movie for me. It really is.
And I know that they did a few like straight to video sequels without Liam Neeson in it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And you know what? You guys were just talking about the guy that was in Evil Dead. I can't remember his name.
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell. At the ending, right when he escapes, Darkman escapes, and there's a voiceover, but the Darkman runs out of the warehouse, and he puts a mask on, but you see the back of his head, and as he's walking through the crowd. And nobody can find him. He turns around. And it's Bruce Campbell.
He made some appearances. He made like Sam Raimi, who directed Spider-Man.
Yes, Spider-Man.
He made cameos, so I think that's pretty. Yeah. But I did notice that. I'm like, oh, Bruce Campbell's in it.
But Liam Neeson's really funny in this as well. He's obviously we know him from Taken, but in this, he's quite funny. Some of the lines he says, it's very funny. But if you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. It might not be. Okay. It might not be your cup of tea, but I found it hilarious.
When you see my list, you'll know it'll be my thing.
Yeah. Do you remember Spider-Man 2, the bit where they were going to cut the arms off Dr. Octopus and how horrific that scene was? Really well directed. Do you remember when they were going to, he directed that sequence like a horror film? Well, it's kind of the same way he directs Dark Man.
Yeah, Sam Raimi is very known. He actually dragged me to hell. He did that too.
Yeah, it was great. That was great.
Yeah,
I like that one too.
So I mean, Sam Raimi's kind of like you love it or hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get that from
Marmite.
Sam Raimi films. But
Yeah, definitely.
I kind of do.
Yeah.
But if it's dark and demented, it's for me.
Yeah,
Just
it
gonna
is
say.
definitely. Yeah.
All right. So, Gary, I'm assuming you haven't seen this movie.
I've seen bits, but I want to go back and watch it now. Just the whole thing based on what Ian said. I've seen bits when it's been on cable through the years and stuff, but never all the way through from beginning to end.
A lot of fun. I thought it was fun. Anyway, yeah.
I've always wanted to watch it, but I just never really got around to it. But again, this will be definitely on my list. I'll definitely go back and watch it.
I don't think they can make a movie with this title right now.
No.
No.
Make a movie called Dark Man now.
It's racist.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, it doesn't mean that.
No, it's not good.
Silly kids.
Mm.
All right, so here's some facts. Sam Raimi, acclaimed for his work on the Evil Dead trilogy and the Spider-Man films, conceived the idea for Darkman. Renowned composer Danny Elfman provided an atmospheric and memorial score that enhances the film's dark and brooding atmosphere. And to hide his disfigured face, Darkman utilizes a range of disguises, allowing him to infiltrate the world of his enemies and enact his vengeance. And this is what you're talking about, how he only has a certain amount of time before the disguise disintegrates.
Yeah. I think it's an hour.
Okay, that makes it interesting. That makes it a whole other level.
Mm. Yeah,
and it just goes
always
to show,
perfect. There's a timer on the situation.
Yeah, and doesn't this go to show that you have all these crap movies now with these $225 million budgets, which tank, and yet you can have, if a filmmaker has like a vision to do like a different kind of quote unquote superhero movie, and the right budget for it, and just to get on with it and put it out, that's all you need.
Yeah. The thing is that you can see the passion when you watch this film, no matter what you think of it. When someone is passionate about a movie and they make it, you can just feel it. You can see it. I mean, the sequels are rubbish because obviously the studio had the rights to it. They obviously paid Sam Raimi a bit of money, to do the sequels that went straight to DVD. If you watch sequels, they're bland. There's nothing in there. You can't feel the passion because obviously they're just doing it for the money. So yeah, watch this one and forget about the rest of them. That's all I can say.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll definitely put this on my list. I'm sure it's way 1,000 times better than anything out today anyway.
Oh God, yeah.
So yeah, we'll go watch it. So this is the second one that I want, because you mentioned it, that I want to go back and watch. And I've only seen the first Blade movie, and I actually saw it in the movie theater and I quite enjoyed it. So
yeah. This is Blade is a good film. It was one of the very first hits that Marvel had, because all the other films before this one was made had flopped, based on Marvel characters, and Blade was one of the very first huge hits. The story is a bit rubbish actually in Blade. Some of the stuff that he does doesn't make any sense. But it's the reason why I like it so much is because of Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes is the man, and the way he gets rid of people is just so funny. But it doesn't give any F's or excuses for what it is, and I think it's a really great entertaining movie for its time. That's what I think, in a short way. So yeah, I recommend this film. I liked it when I first saw it. So there you go.
I mean, it seems like these days all you hear is how the attempts to keep bringing it back keep getting pushed back and back and back.
Yeah. Another thing about this is Blade is black, right? But there's nothing in this film that talks about his color or his race. He's half vampire, he's half human, and that's all you get. I'm pretty sure this new one's going to talk about how he was raised in Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
Poor, and he was into crime and all that kind of nonsense. But this film doesn't do any of that, because in those days, it was just the character, the action, the fun, and the vampires. So, yeah.
He's been in a lot of great action ones. What was that one on the plane? Passenger
56 or whatever it was.
57 or something.
Yeah, he's good in action.
Yeah,
Have you
he's
seen
good.
this one in Blake?
Oh yeah, I saw this in the movie theater actually. Me and Jason saw it right when it came out. Actually, it's one of our date nights that we went and saw, and I really enjoyed it. I liked it because he was like unstoppable. It was like here's a character that's born this way, and like so, he has the best of both worlds of it, kind of remaining he had kind of his humanity left, but yet he's like unstoppable, and then he's facing this character. I don't remember the character's name, but it's played by Stephen Dorff.
Deacon Frost. Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a. I mean, Stephen Dorff like was never one of my favorite actors, but he plays a really good butthole.
He does, yeah, he does.
And just the scene like where it's like the feeding, which is the first picture, that was like wow. That was like a lot of going on there. That was intense, and it's just a very and also he had a cool car too.
He did. Important. Yeah, he got cool costume as well. Costume is very well designed as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, I like unstoppable characters, characters that are like, they're not necessarily like bad, but they're like, anti-hero a little bit. But I don't think he really wanted to be like a bad character. He just was born that way. Yeah. And he was just using it the best way he knew how. And pretty unstoppable character though. And I didn't see the other movies, so I can't say. I kind of stopped.
The second one's really good. The first one is, I think the second one's slightly better than the first one. But
oh wow,
the first one, it's got a lot of world building in this one. Like for instance, the police cop that had that tattoo at the back of his neck, he was working with the vampires. So there were humans that were working with the vampires, which is quite a neat little world building thing there as well. So again, right, Wesley Snipes is excellent in this role. Very, very entertaining film.
So yeah, it is. It's actually just a fun, it's exactly what Marvel show should try to I mean there's some violence in it obviously, but it's what Marvel and DC should try to strive to be. To that level. And I think that they've lost their way. And I think that, this is a good example of like, you should look at this and go, this is entertaining and this is what people want to kind of see. And leave out all the politics.
We need more lower budget and mid-budget movies.
Yeah, we actually do. We need more independent films, but with good actors in them. I know that's kind of a hard feat, but it has happened. That's how cult movies happen.
Isn't Sam Elliott in this one?
Yes, he plays.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not Sam Elliott.
You had her at Sam Elliott.
No, it's not. Sam Elliott's not in this. It's
he's not in this one.
No,
which one? Oh, Sam Elliott was in the Nicolas Cage one, Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider.
Okay.
This one was who's the country singer that was in this?
Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson. He was
okay.
Chris Christopherson. That's weird.
Yeah,
he's like his mentor or something. He teams up with him. I remember that.
But he saves him as a kid, and
you're right.
Yeah,
he played Whistler.
Yeah, he played Whistler. Yeah. So it's honestly, again, right? If this was made today, Whistler would be black, because Blade is black, and we'd be talking about Brooklyn
but it's a nice mixture, and it's like you can do that. It's okay, Wesley Snipes is a cool character. Then you have Whistler; he's a cool character, and he's a different color. It's all right, man.
Yeah. Never mind.
Chill out. Chill out, people. People really do need to chill out.
I like Wesley Snipes in Demolition Man.
Yeah.
He played that character great.
Yeah.
I can't see anybody else playing that character. So
yeah.
All right. So here's some facts about Blade. Despite mixed reviews from critics, audiences embraced the film, leading to a cult following. See, we know what we like. Blade was commercial hit, grossing $70 million in the U.S. and $60.2 million worldwide. The film introduces us to Eric Brooks, also known as Blade, portrayed by Wesley Snipes. Blade is a vampire, a human-vampire hybrid with a vampire strengths, but none of their weaknesses, which makes him unstoppable. He dedicates his life to hunting down the vampires, and I'm definitely going to rewatch this movie.
Yeah.
And I may watch the second one because you said it's good. And
yeah, the second one's directed by what's his name? The guy.
Del Toro?
No, it's directed by the guy who directed. What's that? Oh God, my brain's. I'm so old. My brain stopped. What's that film where it was World War II, and it was in a different language movie, and a little girl.
Oh, you're talking about Pan's Labyrinth?
Labyrinth. That's the same.
That's Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, he directed the second one, and he did. It's much better than this one, and
that's probably why.
He's added a lot of horror.
Why.
A lot of horror.
Yeah, you're right. It's Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, he's a really good director as well. So yeah,
and that's the right director for something like that, anyway.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
But today it would be a black guy who's gay or something like that. So
yeah.
There you go.
All right. Well, we're finally to mine. So get ready, buckle up.
Okay.
It's gonna be a ride. I was gonna say it's gonna be a ride. And we have another actor that's been mentioned twice in my list. So obviously, Gary, you knew this was happening. This was gonna happen.
Dark City.
Yeah, Dark City, directed by Alex Proyas, 1998. Kiefer Sutherland, Rufus Sewell, Jennifer Connelly, the guy from Rocky Horror Picture Show that his mind, Richard something. He's in it. He plays one of the strangers. I don't know if you've ever seen this film, Ian.
Yeah, I have seen it. So I have seen it.
Okay.
Sorry, I was about to go for a pee.
Go ahead. You go do what you have to do. That's fine.
I'll be back. Right, I'll be back.
All right, that's fine.
Watch the director's cut for sure.
I did. Actually, I think I did watch the director's cut. And the reason why I know that is because I did some searching. And the reason the changes were in the original of this film that there was narration, just like because, of course,
Blade Runner,
the powers that be wanted narration in the beginning.
Yeah, well,
and I'm pretty sure that
we figure it out ourselves.
Right, because we're stupid. So I'm pretty sure, and I don't remember this last watch that I did from torrenting. It was basically like no narration. So I'm assuming watch the director's cut. But I did also buy the director's cut. Thanks, Gary, for making me spend money. But that's all right. I needed to buy it anyway. But anyway, I love this film because it moves very quickly. And the reason why I say that is John Murdoch wakes up. He looks around and realizes that he's in trouble, if you know what I mean. Like he's wanted for murder, and he doesn't know what the hell is going on. He can't remember anything of his past at all. All he knows is that these weird people, these very weird pale people, are chasing him around, asking questions. And but he also can do these really odd things, like he can create a door out of nothing. And you know, and it's odd because when I first watched this movie, I never thought about why is it dark all the time? Why is this city dark all the time? Obviously, the show's called Dark City.
It's a dark city.
Right, I get it. But it's interesting because like you don't question, like, you know, and when you're watching the film, you don't question like, why doesn't the sun come up? But you think you would do that. But you're so immersed in this whole world of him basically running from these people that are basically just wanting to inject him with something. And then you find out very quickly that Kiefer Sutherland is working for these strangers and that he is putting up memories. He's creating memories for these people to put. And so they put them in situations and they change their situations. Like 1 minute you're like poor, you don't have anything, you're falling into your soup when they stop everything, because obviously the strangers have the power to stop everything. And then the next minute you're rich and you're sitting in a beautiful place, which sounds wonderful, right? But there's a price to pay. And Rufus Sewell's character, John Murdoch, is trying to basically prove his innocence to the police. And obviously what we heard is the police, because that's perfect casting, right? He would be perfect investigator. And so it's a ride. It definitely is a ride. And then you see the John Murdoch's power starting to come into fruition, and like that. It's a very quick moving movie, but you're sucked in at the very moment. Like, what is going on here? And by the end of the movie, which is, I don't know if I want to reveal it.
Spoilers. Don't do spoilers.
Right, because this movie is one of those you don't want to spoil, because when you come to the end, it's so epic. It's so epic. It's so Akira-like. I'm just going to say Akira-like because that's exactly what I thought. Because around the same time I watched this movie, I did see the original Akira movie. And it's so very similar, except it's a so much better ending. And it's definitely worth your time. It is a definitely like atmospheric movie that I recommend to anybody. 10 stars all the way around. Best role of Rufus Sewell ever. I like seeing him more as a good guy in a film. I wish he would do more of it. Yeah, it's a beautiful film. I mean, I could go on for days. I mean, I don't regret buying the director's cut. Jennifer Connelly's great in it. She plays his wife, and it's just the scenes with him and her. They have so much great. They have great chemistry, and just I don't understand why. Again, these comments, these trivia here, where it wasn't off a success. I don't know how it couldn't be. It to me, this film is up there with Blade Runner for me, because it has a very similar feel. It's not quite the same type of film, but it has a very kind of a atmospheric film, and it's easy to follow. They didn't have narration.
I mean, movies like this one, though, even though they're obviously quality and worthy, sometimes movies like this are hard to market. You know, they just don't know how to sell it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think it was. I was hooked the first time I saw it, and I actually saw the narration version, and I still liked it. Yeah. It's better without the narration for sure, but the narration wasn't as bad as the narration in Blade Runner. Trust me, the narration in Blade Runner was purposely bad because they wanted to take it out.
Oh,
but
I loved it. I loved the narration.
The
narration in Blade Runner. I loved it.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I just thought that it really I mean, right, Harrison Ford sounded like he was bored, but if you
he was trying to, because they didn't want to do it.
Well,
that was the point.
Okay, so everybody says that it was put in after the film. Sorry, I'm just going off tangent.
No, go ahead.
I need to say this. Right, everybody claims that the voiceover was put in after the film was made. Okay, but I dispute that. Right?
Okay.
Because if you watch the director's cut, the bit in the beginning where the voiceover was taken out, he looks up at that thing in the sky, and it's just him looking up at the sky. Now you can't tell me that was held on that scene because the narration was there. Why would you shoot a scene like that if you weren't going to put narration there?
Well, honestly, Ian, I've watched the director's cut more than I've ever watched the theatrical version. Right. So it's been so long. I've seen clips, right? I've seen clips of them with the narration, and I was cringing, right?
But all right. I saw
but again, I haven't watched it in the whole context in a very long time.
But I
think sometimes when you get used to one thing, like a director's cut, you go back and watch the original, and you start maybe finding fault. And that might be what I'm doing. Like I said, I probably haven't seen the theatrical cut probably since the early 90s.
But I'm one to
But in this case, in Dark City, I don't remember like the narration being that off-putting, because that was the difference, I think, in the director's cut and the theatrical version, is they did a narration.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember what the narration was like. It was really bad, because I don't remember thinking it was bad. I just, I
just think that when you have a unique movie like this, the people in charge don't know what to do. They don't know how to advertise it. They don't know how to put it across. So they fumble in the dark. So they go, oh, the narration doesn't work. Let's take that out. Let's, you know what I mean? And everybody's just fumbling in the dark. So the thing is, though, if I was a producer and I was producing this film, even though I know that the audience is not going to be flocking to see this, I would stick with the original concept. That's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
It, so.
And and I think it hooks a certain type of person like me and Jason, and people that kind of like this type of more dystopian sci-fi.
Yeah.
That's not like in a desert like Mad Max, right?
Yeah.
That's totally different. But I think that for me, it was captivating because I liked, again, we're talking about the Blade thing. I like an unstoppable character. I'm very attracted to that. Not that John Murdoch in this movie doesn't have flaws. He obviously has flaws. But I like the idea of someone like Blade or Jason Bourne being sort of unstoppable in a large sense. So for me, this kind of like fed into that, like the Akira connection that I saw here at the very end, which I won't give away.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed that whole idea that he could create things and kind of create this universe. But spoilers.
It's the ending that got me. Sorry, don't know spoilers, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that the whole thing, though, and I like the fact the pacing. I think the pacing was well done. They moved very quickly. At the very beginning of the film, you figure out he wakes up, he thinks he's in big trouble. It moves very quickly, and it's such a great sci-fi movie. I recommend it to anybody if you like that dark sci-fi, which I do. And you'll see that as we go on here. I did throw a movie in here so we could kind of cut that a little bit, but pretty much this is going to be a dark ride through that. But I loved it. I give it 10 stars. I just bought it on Blu-ray, the director's cut. So I'm probably going to rewatch it again.
It's
but here's
it has its own world, doesn't it? It's like Streets of Fire. That had its own world. It wasn't connected to anything. It's that kind of movie, isn't it? I mean, even though this is quite dark. Which one was made first? Was Batman made before this one? Because if it was,
this was 1998.
Batman was 89.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. That makes sense.
Michelle, have you seen this movie at all?
No, I have not. I haven't even heard of it. Actually,
yeah, it's
really
if
good.
you like that type of thing, it's very.
It's worth your time.
Yeah, it's worth your time, and you're watching it, going, "What's going on?" But then it quickly it starts piecing together. It's not like one of those. I don't know if you've seen that movie Jacob's Ladder. It's not like one of those, but it's it's very easy to follow. It's not. I guess I think they thought people were really stupid. They needed the narration, but you don't need the narration with this one.
Okay.
But here's some facts about Dark City. Concerned about audience understanding, new line requested an explanatory voiceover in the induction. The director's cut removed the opening narration, allowing viewers to immerse themselves fully in the enigmatic world. And initially, it was not a box office success. Obviously, Dark City gained strong following through word of mouth and home video releases, and I actually did see it on video on a VHS tape from Blockbuster.
I remember Blockbuster.
All right. So here is another actor we've already talked about, Sam Neill, which was he was very popular in the 90s.
Sam Neill. Oh, I remember seeing this film. Oh, Lord.
I told you we were going dark.
Yeah.
In the Mouth of Madness, which is directed by John Carpenter.
Yes.
I love this film. I love this film so much. It's so Stephen King, but it's not it's the best Stephen King film that's not a Stephen King film, if you know what I mean. It's basically about John Trent, who's played by Sam Neill. And he's an insurance agent. He works for an insurance company that basically exposes fraud, and he does it very well. And he does it so well that Charlton Heston, who's his book publisher, he owns his book publishing company, decides to hire him to find their author who's missing, named Sutter Kane, played by guys that I can't pronounce. Jerkin, I can't say his last name at all.
Jurgen.
Oh, Pronch
Jurgen.
now?
Yeah, whatever you said.
That's mispronounced, I think.
Right, but it's closer than what I would have done. Great actor. He was in The Seventh Sign, I think.
Yeah.
And he plays Sutter Kane, who's an author of books about a town called Hobbs End, which is a very Lovecraftian, which I love it. And people that read his books tend to go insane. And that right there, just already, I'm in.
Hobbs End
great.
is actually from the original Quatermass in the Pit from Nigel.
That's interesting. Maybe that's a nod.
It is.
And so John Trent decides to go with can't think of her first name, but I think her last name's Stiles, and she works for the publisher, and he figures out by piecing covers together to find Sutter Kane in this in Maine. It's in a Maine town, I think. No, in Massachusetts or Maine or one of these places. And so he finds out where he might be. Well, come to find out, they go to the fictional town of Hobbs End. It actually exists. So, it doesn't end well. A lot of body horror, a lot of tentacles. And they find Sutter Kane, and obviously he is pretty much taken over the town and causing havoc. And the end of the movie, I don't know if I want to reveal because it's so just...
No spoilers.
Yeah, it's so Stephen King perfect that I don't want to reveal it, but it's definitely worth a watch. If you like Lovecraft, body horror type of things, this is a show for you. I'm not saying it's a happy show. It's not. But I would give it 8.5 stars for sure. The special effects are a little dated, but Sam Neill, you can't go wrong with Sam Neill,
You can't.
I don't know if anyone else on the stream or the chat has seen this film.
I've seen it, but it's a very long time ago.
Yeah.
But I can't. I
was
hardly
taken with
remember.
it. I love Lovecraftian films, and there's very few good ones actually. I've tried to look, and I've watched some that weren't good. So this is probably one of the top 10 of the Lovecraft that's based on Lovecraft, other than The Thing, that is kind of top notch. So it's a very Thing like body horror kind of thing, but definitely worth your time if you like horror and being scared and horrified and you can't sleep. This is a good one. So here's some trivia. The car keys that Julie Carmen swallows when Sam Neill is trying to escape from town were made out of pasta. And I forget this every time I watch this film, but Hayden Christensen, who played Anakin Skywalker, feature film debut. He's the paperboy met by Trent on the road. And this is the third film in what John Carpenter has called his Apocalypse trilogy. The first being The Thing, and the second being Prince of Darkness, which was made in 1987. So
I saw Prince of Darkness.
I've been wanting to try to watch that, and I just haven't got around to it. Is it worth watching?
It's okay. It's okay. John Carpenter's film didn't. The studio head didn't like John Carpenter because his film didn't really make a lot of money. So they were always begrudgingly given him movies and stuff. And the Thing didn't make enough money. The Prince of Darkness didn't, and this film, as far as I know, didn't make enough money either. But he's still, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, I think that some people just it isn't their thing, and it's it's hard to sell these kind of films, you know. But like I said, for me, someone like me, I'm all in.
The thing is, though, with John Carpenter, okay, he's an immensely talented person, but the problem with John Carpenter is that his films is not understood when he's made them at that moment in time. It's years later. We know now. We know,
it really is.
We know now The Thing is a classic horror, which should be put up there with the best horror films ever made. We know now that Prince of Darkness is a really entertaining movie, and I can't remember this one. I would say the same, but so he's kind of like who's the guy that cut his hair off when he painted loads of paintings? It's like, is it Van Gogh? Yeah, Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
He's basically appreciated after he's done stuff.
I love John Carpenter films. He's one of my favorite directors. And like I said, I'm really into the horror genre, especially sci-fi horror. And you'll see that in the next pick here. But
here we go.
I just
another Sam Neill film.
No? You're right. How did you know?
Okay. All right.
Sam Neill is actually featured in 3 movies on this list.
So it must be the sci-fi one that you're going to.
But no, that's not it. We're not. We're not getting to that one yet. I'm like, I wanted to cut the horror, just a little bit and have some fun. So I love this movie.
Good movie.
I can't tell you. I love this movie so much I want to cry. And cry of happiness when I watch this movie. This movie makes me feel like a kid. Like this is one of my favorite Robin Williams movies ever, because I think it's so the fantasy. In fact, I love this movie so much. I was looking for the actual like replica of the board game.
It's out there.
It is, and it's $149, and it's
okay. Okay.
I love this film because it really does make you feel like a kid. The idea that you can play a board game, and I did watch the two new ones, right? It's not the same, because the board game was like, it was interesting because it is happening in our world, like, you know, and while Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and the other one, they had to go, they were entering that world that Alan Parrish had entered into all those years ago. And to me, that wasn't as interesting. What was interesting was the idea that here's this kid that gets sucked into a game. And all these years later, these other kids start playing it. And to me, that was interesting. That really kind of, you know, and it didn't start out with Robin Williams, you know, they were like just playing the game like normal. And then of course they roll a 5 or an 8, and then he comes back. And it's like, and then they don't know what's going. It's just so, I don't know. It's, you know, it's like in your world. It makes it more interesting to me that you're having all these crazy things happening in the world, like, you know, spiders and the lions, and then you have like a stampede in the middle of the house. And it's just, I don't know. It always just struck me because it's an idea of its actual physical board game. And I think that's what made it different. And plus, of course, Robin Williams is just Robin Williams. I mean, you know, the way he would deliver lines, and even when he wasn't being funny, he did it perfectly. To me, this is like Robin Williams at his peak. This is around the Mrs. Doubtfire era. He was, you know, his delivery was just perfect. So I personally love this film. I think it's just a fun movie for kids and adults. And I watched it this morning and I'm like, yeah, it's still good. I mean, the special effects are dated, but it's still good. It's still fun. It's still innocent humor. It's innocent humor, innocent fun. I don't know what you guys think, if you like this movie or if that's your thing. But
recall, was Robin Williams stuck in the game for all those years?
And he was for 26 years.
Yeah.
So because his friend, the girl, was playing. That's right.
Yeah.
She got scared with the bats and she ran away. And so he got stuck because all she had to do was roll again. And if it was a 5 or an 8, he'd come back.
So
and then those kids found the game and then they started playing. Yeah.
So there's a scene in it, which, as I recall, because I can't remember it too well, when he knocks on her door.
Yeah.
And then she's an adult now. And then and then she doesn't believe
she passes out.
Yeah, she passes out. Yeah, I remember that scene. It is. I remember loads of bits, and actually, it's a really good. Yeah, I can see the difference between the new one because my nieces love the new ones with The Rock and stuff like that in it. But they had to change it because it was computer games, wasn't it? Now,
no, I get that, but and I'm not saying they're not bad. I mean, I enjoyed them for what they are.
Yeah.
But for me, this resonated more with me. I think it's because of my age. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do love board games. Yeah, so did I.
Something physical about it, right? I mean, video games, we grew up with video games too, but, you know.
Not like today.
I was explaining this morning to my niece, I was saying, you know, you can't just, if you want to talk to your friends, why don't you just go and see them? Do you know what I mean? Or why talk to them on FaceTime? Go, you know, physical is a good thing. Go and see them, you know? But anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I think the casting in this was really good. Yet Kirsten Dunst, when she was really young, probably right after Interview with the Vampire, she was in this movie. And it was just like Robin Williams was just at his peak. You know, it was like he was the perfect character for this film. And I don't know, like I literally I'm so happy when I just even think about this movie. And I'm a pretty dark person, so if this movie could make me like my black heart beat, well. It's a movie. It's a good movie. I don't know. Michelle, what do you think of this movie?
Oh, I love the movie. One of my favorite scenes in there is when the monkeys are in the cop car, you know, and they're destroying that cop car.
The monkeys are in this movie? You mean the
monkeys? Not no.
CGI monkeys.
No.
And they look really bad now, but whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, I love Robin Williams' character, and and how he's talking to the little boy there in that scene because the little boy's crying, and he's like, "What are you crying for?"
Oh,
and he
yeah.
had to
Because
whisper
his tail.
to him. Yeah.
His tail.
I mean, because there are times that adults do ignore kids, and kids really are trying to tell them something serious, but they're never taken serious. And, that was a serious scene, and I thought it was played well.
Yeah.
So
my personal favorite scene is that scene there where the spider and he's trying to blow the spider away.
Yeah.
It gets me every time. Yeah. It just does. It's just such a wonderful, heartwarming film. And again, like I said, I got my eye on that replica, that prop, that board game. I don't need it. Like, where would I put it? But it's the idea of like just,
next to your Funkos.
That's right.
I'll be right. Yeah, I'd find a place for sure. I mean, I would display it somewhere. But yeah, I just love it. And I don't know, Gary, did you ever see this movie?
I have not seen the original. I've seen the new ones, not the original. Sorry.
This is this is one that, if you've seen the new ones, you got to see this movie. I'm telling you, it's so good. It's like this is a movie that
I saw the new ones because it has hot Karen Gillan in it.
Whatever. But I'm saying this is kind of a movie that seemed like it felt like it was made in the 80s in a way. It has that very 80s feel.
Well, Joe Johnston, I mean, I saw that he directed this one. He's done a lot of great. So he did the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He did the Rocketeer.
Yeah.
He did the first Captain America. No, he's
visual
a good
effects
director.
guy. Yeah. It's very
it's fun. I thought I'd put this on there, and this is the last one I chose because I wanted to do something that was kind of broke up my monotony of just dire situations and death. So this is a nice family movie that you can watch with your kids or grandkids. And
although it does have its scary moments,
it does, but it's
especially
kids,
spiders,
like National Treasure, type
that one
movie.
picture there in the corner reminds me of Arachnophobia.
Yes, I'm saying the spiders are pretty scary in this film.
You know what? I guess if you're little, but like I was watching it today and I was like, those look pretty fake, but I mean,
it's because they were.
It's not like Doctor Who fake. It's not like Doctor Who fake, but
not like Arachnids in the UK fake.
I won't watch Arachnophobia anymore. I don't like spiders.
That was scary.
But in the day though, when you were watching it, when it was released, those were it's still you think they're real, so it's just
I actually thought I was freaked out by this scene right here, but it helped because you had like humor in it, because I don't like spiders. I would have already like taken my foot and squished them. I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna die, you're gonna die too.
Yep.
That's just me.
Those things though, they can jump really high, spiders, so watch out if you're going to squish them.
But that scene
pretty fast.
That scene is it's a great scene because just his reaction was just perfect.
Got sunk into the floor as well.
And this won't be the last time we see Robin Williams in my list.
Yeah.
All right.
I knew this was coming. I knew this one was coming.
How did you know?
Because it's Sam Neill. Sam Neill's in this as well.
Yes, and it's dark.
And it's very dark,
very dark. And it has Sean Pertwee in it too.
It does. But also with
Jason Isaacs.
Fraught with problems when they were making it as well. So
yeah. I love this film because it's scary.
Yeah.
Oh, it starts out very like it's a slow burn. And basically Sam Neill's character created Event Horizon, and they're out to find it because it's gone missing, because this little device in here can basically go to different universes, and they go to a universe that nobody wants to go to. Ever.
wasn't the idea that it opened up hell?
Yes, that's the universe I'm talking about.
Don't want to go there. Yeah, don't want to go there.
And Lawrence Fishburne is leading the team. And there you have a Redgrave there.
Yeah.
Richardson, what's her name? Jolie Richardson.
Jolie Richardson.
Yeah. Natasha's the one that was married to Liam that died.
That's it. Yeah.
I really do, because it's like I watched this film the other day and it was like, man, it's the suspense of them figuring out what's going on, and it's the journey, you know.
Mhm.
And boy, the ending is just like they put all the stops on the ending. It's just like you've waited this long, now here comes all the craziness at the very end of this movie. But the acting is really stellar, and just the way the ship looks is still very cool. Yeah, there's some special effects that at the very beginning where see all the stuff floating, and in the oh god, in the loading dock or the dock.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good, but pretty much though, like the cast is just engaging, and it kind of does have that very alien feel to me. I don't know if you got that from any end, but
yeah. I got
that grittiness of the 80s that I actually missed in science fiction, this has it. And I actually anytime I watch this movie, I have to do it in sections because it's too much. It's a good movie, but do like 30-minute increments. Like, take your time, get in there, because when you do that, when they start revealing the craziness, and it's interspersed in the film, you'll need that 30-minute breaks, because it's intense. It's an intense, almost claustrophobic movie for me.
Basically it's a haunted house in space, isn't it? Because Alien was the creature in space. This one is a haunted house in space.
Yeah, pretty much. And then Sam Neill ends up going, which he does very well. He always does very crazy people. He does crazy people very well. And he does it well in this movie. So I would give this a 9.5. It's definitely worth, if you're into sci-fi horror, a good Halloween movie, and you're not into actual haunted house, but you wanted a haunted spaceship. This is it for you. This is the one.
I've not seen this.
Have you not seen it?
No,
Gary.
I mean, sounds interesting.
It's
I
scary.
remember about this, because am I wrong that it seemed like there was a couple movies that felt like this coming out at the same time, like that one with what was that one with Dustin Hoffman and Sharon Stone?
That's the one I was.
Okay,
that's what I was thinking of.
It is very similar, but this is more intense.
Okay.
Again, I haven't seen Sphere probably since. I mean, I actually thought about rewatching it, but
this had a lot of problems trying to get off the ground, didn't it? And in the end, it didn't really set the box office alight. But
that's
again,
what I'm saying. A lot of these on here didn't.
No, but again, right, if something's well made, right, and the intentions were there in the beginning and there was passion behind it, because Anderson did have a lot of passion on this project, but because of the studio interference, it ended up how it ended up. It'll always find an audience after years and years and years. If something's good, it always gets discovered. That's my theory anyway. That's why I think this movie, it's now a classic, isn't it? Event Horizon. So yeah, if it was crap, nobody would be bothered.
And again, a lot of these movies that I have on this list, I don't really want to give the ending away. I mean, Jumanji is different, but because it's so like, wow. And in the very ending, I like the way they ended it, because it still left it kind of open-ended. You still don't know, like, oh crap, she's seeing some weird stuff again, something's up, so it's definitely a show that you have to understand. You're going in thinking this is not going to be a happy show at all. This isn't going to be one of these Hollywood endings that that they would put on a blockbuster. I wouldn't say it's a blockbuster. I would say it's more like an alien type of show.
Yeah, it is.
Less blockbuster.
I think the effects still stand up today.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Except a couple scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the scene where they're seeing the log. I thought, okay, I'm older now. I'm more desensitized. I guess what I'm talking about, when they uncode the log, when she removes all the filtering from the log, right?
Yeah.
I thought, I can handle this scene. I'm older. I'm desensitized. Hell no. I jumped. And I was like, no. Yeah. And you know what scene I'm talking about. So.
Yeah, I do. I like the the production design in this film as well, like that shot there on that just it's a great design for something.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of.
I mean,
if you like chaos on a spaceship, like no other, this is for you.
Yeah.
Like I said, 9.5 stars. Definitely a really
who's
good.
Who's the girl with the dark hair in it? She, as far as I
Kathleen, Kathleen Quinlan.
Yeah, I thought she was going to be a huge star, but
she was in a lot of stuff.
She was a lot.
She was in Twilight Zone, the movie, in the
Zone,
section where the little boy,
was
controlling them.
A lot of drama. She did a lot of drama.
Yeah, and she did some TV movies back in the 70s. But this was kind of like I didn't see her in any movies after this movie, actually.
No, I didn't.
I'm thinking about
TV stuff. I think she's done it.
Yeah,
TV stuff. So, but it is again, right, guys. This film is worth your time. But it is a slog. It's a bit of a slog, and it is kind of scary. It's a
slower film.
Yeah,
but the payoff is good.
Yeah. So if you want to see it, just see it. Okay. You know, it's a good film.
So here's a couple of facts. Having just done a PG-13 movie, Mortal Kombat, Paul W.S. Anderson was very keen to do something more mature and gruesome. Boy, did he. This was why he turned down the chance to direct X-Men, which was the better choice. The model of the Event Horizon includes a complete X-Wing from Star Wars as part of an antenna array. The model is visible on the lower portion of the Event Horizon during the first flyby by the Lewis and Clark. So it's a good one. All right, so we're going to go to my last choice, which is another actor that you've probably seen already.
Is it Sam Neill by any chance?
No. It's not. It's another Robin Williams movie.
Did you like this film? I didn't like this film at all.
I love this film, and I'll tell you why I love this film.
Okay.
I love this film, because I like art.
Right.
But the other thing is I like the relationship between Robin Williams and Annabella Sciorra in this movie. The reason why I love this movie, and I think the last time I watched it, and the reason why I came to that conclusion was because he would do anything to save her. And that reminds me of somebody else. And I realized that the last time I watched just The Doctor, how he will do anything to save his companions. And in this movie, he will do anything to save his wife from hell. And I just love that premise. Do I agree with the theology in this movie? No, but it's a fantasy movie, and I just like the idea of it. And it's basically about this couple played by Annabella Sciorra and Robin Williams. And they have a couple of kids, and their kids die in a tragic accident. And of course, his wife is very upset about it, more so than the Robin Williams character. Not that he doesn't love his kids, but so she almost commits suicide, and so he brings her back, and they obviously work it out. But after all that, Robin Williams dies in a horrible car accident on the freeway, where a car hits him because he's a doctor and he's trying to save somebody. So she commits suicide, and she goes to hell, and he's living in this world that she's kind of created, which is kind of their heaven. And you see the picture where he's got a painting, and he's he's realizing that he's in her world, and the visual effects in it are they're beautiful to me. But the idea that he hires this tracker, which is played by Max von Sydow, which is a fabulous actor, to go find her in hell, and to get her out of it, and to realize that what she has done. Because when she realizes what she's done, she can be with him in heaven. And it's the idea that like a person would go to that length to save somebody that they love. I think that's why I love this film.
Really?
Yeah. So, I've always loved it for those reasons. I think, is it the best film I've ever? No, of course not. But I think the visuals and just the way the chemistry between Annabella Sciorra and Robin Williams is great. Robin Williams is much more like serious in this film. And it's just a fantasy movie. It's also, it has to do with the scenery and those types of things for me. but I enjoy it.
Was
I don't know.
Was this a mainstream release or was this like an art film? Because
it's
this sounds like the very definition of like an independent art.
No,
yeah, and it does feel that way when you're watching it in a way.
That's why it flopped.
Oh.
Yeah, see, this is another one. See, every one of them, all my picks is like that, except Jumanji. And I do like films like this that make you think. And again, I don't agree with the theology is heaven what you make it. That's kind of what the theology is. But the theme of the show is that he will go to heaven and hell to bring her out. He loves her so much, and I think that's. That is it reminds me again of another character, the Doctor, which he would move heaven and hell to save his companions.
Wasn't Cuban Jr. wasn't he
Yeah.
in it as well? He was.
Yeah,
he played his guide or something. God, I can't remember.
He played his guide. Yeah, he was in it, and then he played the main guide, and when he died. But I mean, it's a very interesting film, and I watched it recently, and I still feel the same way about it. There's something about the aesthetics of it, and it's more than just the premise of it. But for me, I enjoyed it. I don't know if anybody else has seen it. Gary, have you ever seen this movie?
I haven't. That's why I asked that question, because I was just, as I'm listening to you describe it, I'm going, how do you summarize this like in a 3-minute trailer of what
you wouldn't be able to, because if you did, you would give away the idea of it.
Exactly.
Although I just did. Because I had to.
That's why I've never heard of this.
Right. Well, it's a big budget movie. There's a lot of special effects in there. I think it was computerized special effects, especially stuff with the paintings and stuff like that. But for me, it was very dull. And Robin Williams is this is the first movie I've seen him overact. His acting wasn't, for me, it wasn't authentic. When you see him in was it that one where he played the villain Photo? Was it Photoshop?
1 Hour Photo?
1 Hour Photo.
Yeah.
It seemed real, but in this one, it just seemed like he was really playing it over the top, and if his performance to me didn't come across as convincing at all. It was like Robin Williams on speed or something like that. I don't know.
Well, for me, it was like he was more of a. Right here he's laughing, but a lot of the film he's very depressed because obviously his kids died. And he's a very much different Robin Williams. He's not really Robin Williams that's cutting jokes in this show at all. It's much more. After I watched it recently, other than the scene where he realizes he's in pain, he really doesn't. It's kind of he's very depressed because obviously he's lost his children, and
well, he does get to meet them, doesn't he?
Huh?
He does get to meet them, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. It's a film about death that's actually very happy. It's a weird thing, but it has a very good ending. Yeah,
it's a weird
film about death that's very happy.
God, that's how
happy ending.
That's how I'd market it.
Yeah.
Michelle, have you seen this movie?
I have not. I don't know what I thought it was, but I'm gonna have to look that up now and check it out.
Yeah,
I've seen him in, Patch Adams. He was phenomenal in Patch Adams.
You think so?
And yeah, I liked it.
I did not like that movie at all. I just thought,
and of course, I love him in The Birdcage.
It's good in The Birdcage. Would never be allowed today, though.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, so here's some facts about the movie. Annabella Sciorra initially had no desire to appear in the film, thinking that it would be too intense and sad. A read-through with Robin Williams convinced her otherwise. And the character of Chris Nielsen, who is the Robin Williams character, his fictional grave is located in Mount View Cemetery in Oakland, California. Near the scene's filming location is a real grave site for the Anna Nielsen and her husband. They've left it there, apparently, which is kind of weird. So that's my list, and I'm sticking to it.
It's like you're apologizing for your list. It sounds like.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Good list.
Boy,
that was good. We had a good list.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, very different. Everybody had different choices.
Yeah. That was cool. Got some things to look up and watch now.
Yeah.
So, or borrow from the library or something.
I'm definitely going to be hunting down Darkman today.
Darkman.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Darkman's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Liam
I don't
Neeson.
know.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Can't
have
go
to
wrong,
look at
right?
that. I had no idea Liam Neeson was even in anything like that. So yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
man.
It's a fun film. I mean, that one with one Williams just mentioned. I got so bored watching it. I remember watching it in the cinema, and the visual effects were stunning. But you just sit there and you go, "Really,
You know,
heaven,
I
really?"
think it's how you perceive it and what mood you're
Yeah,
in.
I guess.
You know, I truly think if you're not that you were doing anything wrong, you know, if it didn't hit you the same way or didn't vibe with you, that's cool. You know, I think it depends on your mood. Because I've gone into movies and I'm just like, people loved them, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
That movie
So it's
sounds
cool,
like
man.
something where the themes really need to personally resonate with you in order for you to.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's it. And I think that's why preference, you know, like you have a preference or something hits you in a certain way that day. You know, you might walk into, you know, a good example, you might walk into the Batman and it might vibe with you and you're like, yeah, this is great. And then somebody else is going to walk in that same movie and go, this is the most boring movie I've ever watched.
Well, the Batman, majority of people saw the Batman, came out saying this is the most boring movie I've ever watched.
Right,
but
but
was
there was
rubbish.
people like me that watched it on streaming that didn't expect anything and go, wow, I really like that movie.
I
and
didn't
I'm not
really
a huge
enjoy
fan.
it. I didn't really enjoy it until like years later when I kind of revisited.
What, the
It's like,
Batman?
okay, the first one.
The
yeah.
Batman. The one with Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
Oh, you mean the current one? I thought you meant the Michael Keaton one.
No, Michael Keaton one.
Oh, sorry.
That
No,
was just an example.
I know Ian really didn't like the current
He's a
one.
detective. He doesn't do any detecting. He has a
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, how it hits one person, though.
I thought
like
that the guy that played the Penguin in it was good.
Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell or Farrell? I can't remember.
No, yeah,
it wasn't
Colin
Will Ferrell.
Farrell, yeah. But he has a Batmobile that looks like an ordinary car. So we'll work that one out. Do you know what I mean? I'm like sitting there going, what?
See, this example is how one movie vibes with somebody and then another person it doesn't. But hey,
Blue Bonnet's more than that though. It's basically sometimes you don't see things right. Like in the Batman, right? Why did he go up to the bomb, face the bomb as it was counting down? Why didn't he run out of that? That's these logical things that you should do.
Because
that's why
Batman.
I don't think the film.
Right.
No, he wasn't Batman. He was Bruce Wayne at the time.
Yeah.
It blows
but
up.
He's still got
alive,
the Batman,
right?
like he's vibing Batman. You know.
Okay,
like
another
he's just
question I need to ask
Batman.
you.
I don't know.
Another question I need to ask you, right, is when Batman was unconscious and the police that hated Batman took him in there, why didn't they take his mask off?
Yeah, that's.
You see these things.
That's
this is the reason why I didn't like the movie.
But that happens does that not happen in every Batman?
No.
Or some point it never happens in Batman where they wouldn't take his mask off. Yeah, of course it does.
I don't know. I'm obviously joking, but I had problems with that movie. But if you liked it, that's great. I just had
I enjoyed it for what it was. Is it my favorite movie?
Ian sitting there
no,
in the
I was
audience.
just using it as an example.
Ian sitting
Good
there in the
example is a
audience yelling,
Tarantino
"Take
film.
off his mask!"
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not that. I mean, seriously. I mean, it was okay, but my nieces were like, "Oh, let's go and see the Batman." Right? Went to see the Batman. They fell asleep. Fell asleep. This is the first time I ever seen them fall asleep through the movie,
and they forced you to watch
really
it.
Slow. No, I mean, look. It's not a great movie. It's not a bad movie, but it could have been better. It could have been so much better.
All right. Here's another
That's what
example.
I thought.
Pulp
Yeah, go
Fiction.
Yeah.
You're going to have two kinds of people. You're going to have people that love Pulp Fiction, and then you're going to have someone like me saying it's garbage.
Ah, okay.
Tarantino is very divisive. So
I can understand why you say it's garbage, though. Definitely, I can understand it totally.
But again, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I loved it. So Tarantino is very divisive.
No, but what I'm saying is
either you're going to love or hate his films.
If a film has logic flaws in it, and it doesn't explain why it has logic flaws in it, then that's where I draw the line. If a main character is in England and he walks through the door and he's in Hawaii, right? That doesn't make any sense, right?
Well, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, that's how I judge films.
I mean, I get that, but I mean, generally though, like, I don't know.
No, I get it. I mean, ideally, the best movies like kind of draw you in, but if there's these kind of like flaws that Ian's talking about, it pushes you back out.
Right, but they got to be glaring, like what he's just saying.
Yeah, but they are glaring though. In the Batman, those things that I mentioned, they're very glaring.
Batman, I give a little more leeway because it's Batman. You know,
no,
it's like
not,
a Tarantino film like Pulp Fiction. I'm gonna be pickier about because it's supposed to be in modern day, and it's not like superheroes. It's just some two idiots in a car, you know, shooting people. I mean, you know,
I'm not a Tarantino fan at all, but if he ever does his Star Trek movie, I'll definitely go see that.
No, I'm telling you, if you've ever never seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, watch it. That's
a
good film.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's long. I got to give it that. But he I don't know if you remember that scene, Blue Bonnet, when he goes to visit that place with the girl, and you know, and
Spawn Ranch.
And you were like wondering obviously we know what happened, but that was, you know, that was
no. I'm telling you, I didn't think I would. I just happened to watch it. Believe it or not, I don't flip channels because people just don't do that anymore. But we were flipping channels, and it was on Stars, and we watched it, and I was like, I can't stop watching this movie. It's good, you know, like film.
It's good.
You know. So Tarantino is very divisive. It's either he's made some good films and he's made some just.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Anyway, that's for another stream.
Shame. Could have been this stream.
Yeah, we could do a Tarantino stream. And and I when I see Tarantino attached to something, I generally like.
Did you like the Kill Bill movies?
The first one was good. The second one's absolute nonsense.
The first one was good.
Oh.
Yeah, I agree.
Second was totally flat.
I was kind of hooked with them a little bit because I think I like the way that they filmed them and just how it was made. And then the second one, you're right, the second one's not that great.
No, it's not. It's a shame, really.
They had something, or he had something, but
why don't we just kill Bill by putting a couple of fingers on your heart and then suddenly he dies? Remember that bit?
Spoilers.
So, the whole film, right, is leading up to this big battle between the bride and Bill. And what do we get? We got that stupid ending. You're like, what the hell? So there you go.
It had a good premise in the way it was filmed and the way that, you know.
That's actually a good topic for a stream. Great movies with crap endings.
Yeah, total crap.
Matrix.
Ending. Oh, which one?
Anything after the first one.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, the last. Was it the last three were absolute rubbish as far as I was concerned.
My son would kill me for saying that, but it's true. It's very true.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I
don't like sequels. I have a hard time with sequels. I have a real hard issue with it.
Empire was good. Godfather 2 was great.
Wrath of Khan.
What was that? Wrath of Khan was terrific. Even Star Trek 3 was brilliant as far as I was
going to say, you know what? You know, I thought over the years, I thought this the other day. I thought I've slowly changed to Star Trek 3 being the
love Star Trek 3. Yeah. Love it. It's probably the best Star Trek movie ever made, in my opinion. I just thought Star Trek 3 was amazing. Great direction, great story. Didn't know what was coming. They blew up the Enterprise. They killed Kirk's son. You'd never see that coming. Yeah. It's a great movie. Absolute terrific.
I think parts of 4 are good, but for the most part, I just didn't like the whole whales thing.
No, nor did I. Nor did I. No,
I just think it's too environmental and I didn't resonate with me.
Yeah, it's a statement, isn't it? Same thing with the number 6. It was a statement about.
6 is good.
Yeah, 6 is good, but it was also. That's the best way to deal with politics, isn't it? Look at the way the sequels to Star Wars deal with politics. Boring. If you look at the Star Trek 6, it dealt with it really well. Yeah. So yeah.
We get like them sitting around like in Congress just talking. How boring.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, guys. It's been fun. We have talked about a lot of great shows. So you guys, if you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Punch the
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.